Chapter 794. Turning the tide by sheer effort. Guan stood by the river for quite a while, then crossed the small river and walked toward the mountain where he resided. An hour later, he entered his courtyard. Coincidentally, Shangguan Xianer was also there, discussing a major event of the world with Shenzhen. Guan had become accustomed. Although Wuxia does not intervene in worldly affairs, he is not completely detached from the world. The disciples always have exchanges with the sects, and whenever a major event occurs in the world, Wuxi's disciples will always make an appearance. Of course, this is also the thought of the sections. Having Wuxi's disciples present, whether to preach or host conferences, will bring prestige and demonstrate one's status. Although Wuxia does not seek domination, countless legends have been passed down since antiquity, and no one dares to shake Wuxi's prestige. Till now, the world has not witnessed the birth of a second innate golden immortal. Do you think the Demon Emperor can succeed? He is still far from the rank of innate golden immortal. But that innate golden immortal claimed he possesses the potential for golden immortal. And at this grand event of the demon race, the Demon Emperor will exhibit the process of breaking through to the profound Yuan-free immortal. If successful, he will be the youngest profound Yuan-free immortal. That is simply because we Wuxia do not compare ourselves with the outside world. Facing Shangguan Xianer's curiosity, Shenzhen appeared calm, showing no interest in the Demon Emperor. She glanced at Guan without paying much attention. Shangguan Xianer saluted Guan, then continued chatting with Shenzhen, and those not knowing might think they were master and disciple. Guan returned inside, preparing to take a nap. With his cultivation level, he could do without sleep, but recently he enjoyed experiencing the red dust in dreams. In dreams, he crafted a unique life, experiencing it firsthand. He discovered he could make dreams become reality, creating the world from his dreams. However, he is not omnipotent, at least he cannot create a Tao world stronger than his cultivation level. He increasingly believed that the so-called heavens and earth were not products of the great Tao, but were opened up by powerful beings. There is no heaven or earth within the great Tao river. Even if there is, they are the fallen ones entering in, without an original cause and effect relationship. Se of the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As Guan fell asleep, Shangguan Xianer managed to persuade Shenzhen to accompany her to the demon race's grand event. The Tao treasures in their hands had just been reforged by Guan. In this world, no one could harm them. After they departed, the courtyard of Guan fell silent. The sun set, the moon rose, and the seasons changed. When the two ladies returned, half a year had passed. Guan stepped out from the house, stretched lazily under the sun. You didn't sleep until now, did you? Shenzhen questioned with a suspicious look. Guan glanced at her, countering. Why not? Nowadays, his medicine gardens around the region flourished anew, planted with high-tier spiritual grass. Each time he harvested, he could prolong the time. High-tier cultivation herbs mature over decades and do not much diminish lifespan. Now he not only gained ample time, but also his annual income of lifespan increased to nearly 3 billion years. In Wuxi's Taoist field of the beginningless, the medicinal herbs planted were too numerous to count. Every disciple had their own medicine garden. Guan would not interfere, and if he wanted to explode in lifespan, he could do it any time, but only if a crisis arrived beforehand. He would not reveal even a trace of his ability to seize lifespan. Well, would you like to hear about our experiences at the demon race? Shenzhen walked toward Guan, asking with a smile. Guan nodded, letting her speak while reminiscing about his dream. He lived another lifetime as Yang Xian, never taking innocent lives, focusing on chivalry, living a splendid life. The name of the sword Tao Saint ancestor re-emerged. Acquiring this title is not only due to his strength, but also his merits. Unaware of Gu An's thoughts, Shenzhen eagerly shared about the demon race's festivities. Initially, she wasn't interested in the Demon Emperor, but seeing the Demon Emperor crossing the tribulation and his attitude towards people and matters, she had a change in perspective. She thought the Demon Emperor truly might become the second innate golden immortal. Interestingly, why did I feel the Demon Emperor's form and voice resembled yours somewhat? Although there's a significant difference, from afar his silhouette looks like him seeing you. Shinjun looked at Guan suspiciously, curiously asked, hoping to discern something from Guan's expression. The origin of the Demon Emperor has always been a mystery worldwide. Rumors once suggested a connection between the Demon Emperor and the ancestor Master Wuxia. Even Wuxi's disciples had asked Guan, but he firmly denied it. Shinjun returned in high spirits, feeling she might have discovered the link between the Demon Emperor and Guan. Not only did they resemble in form, but there were also some indistinct causes and effects on the Demon Emperor that could not be deduced, yet indeed existed. This feeling, she only detected in Guan, knowing she specialized in cause and effect. Concerning the achievement in the path of cause and effect, no Wuxia disciple could rival her, except for Fairy Yaoxian, who was stronger but not considered a Wuxia disciple. Guan looked at her, his expression serious, and said solemnly, "Some causes and effects are best left unprobed, otherwise." Shinjun was stunned by his shift in demeanor. She had never seen Guan so serious and felt a bit unnerved. "Beware, it'll erase your memory." Guan revealed a smile, raising his hand to gently tap her forehead. Shinjun came back to her senses, instantly understanding Guan was teasing her. She couldn't help but feel annoyed. As she was about to inquire further, Zizai appeared, bowing to Guan saying, "Ancestor, 2 immortal gods have come to visit you. One calls himself Sichuan Old Immortal, and the other calls himself Tai Immortal Monarch." Seeing Zizai show up, Shinjun stopped questioning since Guan refused to disclose the connection with the Demon Emperor, clearly for a reason. She could only ask privately. "Bring them to the mountain viewing pavilion." Guan replied, and Zizai immediately disappeared from where he stood. "All right, I have matters to attend to, you should rest first." Guan left these words behind and departed. His awakening was not merely to greet Shinjun. Watching his departing figure, Shinjun clicked her tongue in amazement. Remarkable, they say demon transformations take reference from appearance they find appealing. Speaking of which, the looks of Celestial Demon Child Celestial Cyan, Celestial Bai seemed familiar as if I've seen them somewhere before. Elsewhere. Guan walked all the way to the mountain viewing pavilion. Standing in the pavilion, he gazed at the nearby great waterfall. Before long, Zizai led Sichuan Old Immortal and Tai Immortal Monarch there. Zizai showed great curiosity toward the 2 immortal gods. Although immortal gods are no longer just intangible legends, he had yet to truly interact with immortal gods. Guan nodded slightly at Zizai, indicating for him to leave. After Zizai left, Sichuan Old Immortal stood in the pavilion, bowing to Guan and saying, "Please, Ancestor Master Wuxia, intervene and save the world for human venerable." Guan turned around looking at him, expressionless. Tai Immortal Monarch stood beside Sichuan Old Immortal, saying nothing, but observing Guan's expression. "I am not a celestial court immortal god, nor do I have the ambition to ascend to immortality. Why should I assist him?" Guan asked coldly this moment. His look imposed immense pressure on Sichuan Old Immortal. Compared to last meeting, Sichuan Old Immortal felt as if facing another person entirely. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 795. Son of Heaven's opportunity. Facing Guan's inquiry and gaze, Elder Ci Xian suppressed his inner unease and spoke. "Although the Patriarch does not participate in the struggle for the throne, as long as Wuxia remains in this great thousand world for a day, it is difficult to avoid the ramifications brought by the struggle. If the great immortal divine Yuan wins, the 3,000 great worlds will be destroyed and recreated into the 3,000 great worlds he desires. If Xian Yuan succeeds, he will not change the 3,000 great worlds. All he wants is to thwart the provocation from the great immortal divine Yuan. He does not need the 3,000 great worlds to transform into anything else." As Ci Xian spoke these words, his gaze was firmly fixed on Guan. Tai Immortal Monarch had already heard this narrative, which was also the reason for Tai Immortal Monarch's accompaniment. If the great immortal divine Yuan were victorious and became an enemy of Guan, at that time, should Guan resist, he would face the entire celestial court, and Tai Immortal Monarch would also have to oppose Guan, which would be unacceptable for Tai Immortal Monarch. After all, he had invested so many years of effort, and was unwilling for it all to be in vain. The rapid development of the celestial spirit great world has been supported significantly by Tai Immortal Monarch behind the scenes. Looking at Guan, Tai Immortal Monarch's eyes already indicated his stance. Guan responded to the gaze of Elder Ci Xian saying, I can leave with Wuxia. I can even leave with the celestial spirit great world. The ambition of the great immortal divine Yuan poses no threat to me. Elder Ci Xian followed up saying, while you are capable of departing with the celestial spirit great world, all living beings are creations of the heavenly Tao, and if the celestial court strips them of their celestial Tao destiny, they will inevitably disperse into ashes. Guan approached the table and sat down, choosing not to respond verbally. Instead, he picked up the teapot and poured himself some tea. Each day there is new tea at the mountain viewing pavilion, prepared by the ghost mother of ephemera. Even if Guan is not within the dojo, she prepares it personally or dispatches others to do so. Elder Ci Xian looked at Guan, waiting for his decision. The sound of the waterfall cascading echoed around the three. Gritting his teeth, Elder Ci Xian said, if the patriarch is willing to intervene, His Highness can agree to any request. This was previously instructed to me by His Highness. Guan sighed and said, I have no demands. I have finally found a place for peaceful cultivation and enlightenment, and have no desire to be disturbed. Upon hearing this, Elder Ci Xian felt a hint of delight. The absence of absolute refusal meant there was room for negotiation. If you wish not to be entangled in the cause and effect of the celestial court, after this battle ends, I will not report your name to the celestial court. Moreover, you can rest assured, the struggle for the throne relies on individual abilities. The great immortal divine Yuan has also sought many great powers not belonging to the celestial court. Should you be willing to act, His Highness will ensure you bear no trouble and will reward you, even if you do not wish to join the celestial court. However, if your disciple wishes to ascend to immortality, His Highness will absolutely support it. Elder Ci Xian spoke thus, observing the number of disciples under Wuxia and noting precedents of ascension. Thinking such words might sway Guan was evaluating. In his view of the future, Xianyuan Human Venerable was destined to fail. He indeed had the capability to alter fate. He knew Elder Ci Xian spoke truthfully, because he had seen the arrival of heavenly soldiers and generals at the celestial spirit great world. He had painstakingly repaired relations with the celestial court, and now there was another obstacle. How could he stand by and do nothing? The reason he agreed to see Elder Ci Xian was that he already had a decision at heart. However, he wanted Xianyuan Human Venerable to know the difficulty of his intervention, so that Xianyuan Human Venerable might treat Wuxia disciples in the immortal class kindly in the future. Having reached Guan's realm, personal interest was no longer highly significant. He cared more about those around him and the younger generation. He never hoped for those near him to provide substantial help or benefits. If such were the case, it would indicate he was not strong enough and still required the people around him to perform certain tasks for him. What mattered to him were emotions and his inner desires. Moreover, in his view, the presence of old friends could remind him of the path traveled. Seeing Guan fall into silence, Elder Ci Xian felt increasingly uncertain. He did not understand what Guan was still considering. Tai Immortal Monarch, on the other hand, was secretly excited. Facing the forces of the great immortal divine Yuan, Guan did not refuse outright, which inherently demonstrated his strength. Tai Immortal Monarch began to envision the future. If Guan helped Xianyuan Human Venerable turn the tides, he would have established good relations with Xianyuan Human Venerable, which was undoubtedly beneficial for him. Previously, he did not join the fray because he was uncertain which Son of Heaven would triumph. If it were possible to befriend the victorious Son of Heaven, he certainly would not refuse. Gritting his teeth, Elder Ci Xian took out a golden jade pendant from his sleeve, saying, This is His Highness' most important token. If you are willing to intervene, this item will be bestowed upon you. This item comes from the Emperor of Heaven, and can exempt you from capital punishment by the celestial court, and grant you a supreme immortal position. An opportunity greatly coveted by sons of heaven. Seeing the jade pendant, Guan's eyelids twitched. This item did not appear in his foresight, indicating it truly represented the power of the Emperor of Heaven. Instinctively, he wanted Elder Xian to quickly put it away to prevent attracting the Emperor of Heaven. But on second thought, within the dojo, cause and effect can be isolated. Why should he fear? Having grown steadily to today, his lifespan evolution abilities could be trusted. A primordial profound venerable immortal would indeed cause concern in the celestial court, yet he could rest easy, implying even the Emperor of Heaven could not probe the cause and effect within the dojo. With such a treasure, does human venerable still fear failure? Guan did not reach to receive the item, but rather asked. Elder Xian replied. Human venerable cares about victory, about the interests of all immortal spirits and mortal spirits supporting him. Rather than face utter destruction, he does not wish to disappoint all who support him. These words led Guan to regard Xianyuan human venerable a little higher. Guan spoke. Since that is the case, I shall assist you, but I will not show myself, and I hope you and human venerable do not reveal my existence. Upon hearing this, Elder Xian was overjoyed and immediately expressed gratitude to Guan. May I ask, Patriarch, when will you act? Elder Xian set the golden jade pendant on the table and eagerly asked. Just relay the message to him. I will act at the appropriate time. I will only help him resolve the battlefield of the 3,000 great worlds. As for the battle between the great immortal divine Yuan and him, I will refrain from involvement, Guan replied. Sar the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Naturally, the struggle for the throne cannot be interfered with by a third party. Elder Xian responded, once again paying his respects to Guan, then departed. Tai Immortal Monarch did not follow in his footsteps, as Guan gestured for him to sit down. After Elder Xian left, Tai Immortal Monarch faced Guan alone, feeling somewhat apprehensive. Fearing that bringing Elder Xian might have offended Guan, Xianyuan human venerable's promise is indeed trustworthy. Truly, I also hoped you wouldn't get involved, but the great immortal divine Yuan is more dangerous than Xianyuan human venerable. Tai Immortal Monarch spoke cautiously, carefully observing Guan's expression. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 796. Heavenly Tao Emperor Jade. Guan glanced at Tai Immortal Monarch and said with a smile, You need not worry, I am not blaming you. Hearing this, Tai Immortal Monarch felt relieved and smiled. Over the years, I've watched your actions. While some things may not matter to me, your intentions are undoubtedly earnest, whether out of ambition or for other reasons. I harbor no dissatisfaction with you. Guan said to Tai Immortal Monarch, his face graced with a warm smile, a stark contrast to his demeanor when facing the old immortal Zixuan. Tai Immortal Monarch was excited by these words and felt deeply moved. He could sense Guan's sincerity, and he didn't consider it a bad thing that his ambition had been revealed, as he indeed harbored no ill will towards Guan. In fact, after spending so many years in the celestial spirit great world, he had many insights. He found his Tao heart had become more serene, realizing that if immortal gods distanced themselves from all living beings, they would inevitably become arrogant and narrow-minded. Most immortal gods also grew from mortal spirits, and to be arrogant towards mortal spirits is to be arrogant towards one's past self. His own arrogance was why Guan suppressed him for so many years. Whenever he thought of this, Tai Immortal Monarch felt that working for Guan could not impress him. Yet what he did was not meaningless, for he gained something himself. Having convinced himself of this, hearing Guan's praise brought him unexpected joy, and even a sense of loyalty akin to a soldier willing to die for a confidant. Guan raised his hand to point at the golden jade pendant on the table and asked, Are these jade pendants common in the celestial court? If there was only this one, he would have to give it away or always keep it in the dojo, never giving it to his disciples. Tai Immortal Monarch collected his thoughts and said, Not many, but I have indeed heard of it. This jade pendant is called the Heavenly Tao Emperor Jade, and only a few sons of heaven favored by his imperial majesty, and those with great merit can hear of it. The celestial court actually values merit more, which is why the ranks of immortals differ. Over the long years, one's cultivation level can always be improved, But to bring blessings to all living beings requires genuine effort. Immortal gods receive the incense of all beings and are naturally obligated to protect them. Some immortal gods who accomplish little, no matter how high their cultivation level, will not ascend. Guan shook his head with a laugh and said, "You didn't say that before." Tai, immortal monarch, felt embarrassed, cleared his throat and said, "At that time my mind was clouded. I always thought finding a patron was easier than accumulating merit. To obtain the heavenly Tao Emperor Jade, merit cannot be achieved by saving beings once or twice, but must be accumulated through countless accomplishments." Guan nodded and asked, "Then how many heavenly Tao Emperor Jades do you think there are?" Tai, immortal monarch, replied, "At least 1,000, given the countless immortal gods in the celestial court. Even I don't know the exact number." Guan felt relieved. In the future, he could give the heavenly Tao Emperor Jade to his cherished disciples. Afterward, Guan exchanged a few simple words with Tai, immortal monarch, and then let him leave. Before leaving, Tai, immortal monarch hesitated to speak, but ultimately took his leave with a bow. Guan knew what he wanted to ask but purposely left it unsaid. After Tai, immortal monarch, left, Guan raised his eyes to gaze at the celestial vault outside the mountain viewing pavilion, and mumbled to himself, "The cause and effect of this matter are so great that you cannot hope to conceal it." This time, he intended to eliminate the nefarious formidable creatures of the 3,000 great worlds, granting the living beings of various worlds a chance to rescue the world. Striking in such a manner would certainly yield him an exceptionally vast lifespan. Guan, who relied on growing medicinal herbs for longevity over the years, unexpectedly felt anxious. After all, lifespan reincarnation holds too many past lessons. Rampantly killing to gain strength quickly would invite annihilation by more formidable beings, including the attention of the celestial court. Guan did not plan to involve his true self, but instead used the Wuxia divine sparrow to intervene. As the thought arose, the Wuxia divine sparrow transformed into a beam of white light and flew over to land on the table, then lay down. Guan raised his hand to gently stroke its head, feeling as if he were touching his own head. Within the rolling thunderclouds, lightning flashed and thunder roared, making the entire world overwhelmingly oppressive, dim and eerie. The land was barren, the mountains lifeless. Above the mountains, a cloud soared past, carrying a dozen people, among whom Zhu Xi was present. "When we meet His Highness, you all must kneel and do not raise your heads to look at him, understood?" Standing at the front, an elder spoke. He was the Star Monarch, known as Beichen Star Monarch, and behind him were all world rulers from various great worlds, with Zhu Xi's presence being the weakest and thus the least noticeable. "We understand." The masters of the great worlds responded in unison. Faced with the upcoming meeting, they were both excited and anxious, with some feeling uneasy. The most uneasy was Zhu Xi, who always felt that meeting the Son of Heaven was not a good thing. She didn't want to come, but as the overt world ruler of the Taiwei Great World, she had no option but to come. Her great cultivators wished not to miss this opportunity, but did not dare to replace her. Zhu Xi could only strive to calm herself, not wanting to appear cowardly. Soon, a colossal stone hall appeared ahead, far larger than any mountain in the world. CTH Novel FIR. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Everyone's gaze was drawn to the stone hall, while Beichen Star Monarch accelerated his cloud-soaring technique. They swiftly rode the clouds into the stone hall. The hall's passage was immensely broad, its ends shrouded in darkness, discouraging prolonged gazes. Flying forward for a while, Beichen Star Monarch's voice echoed, "Lower your heads." Upon hearing this, everyone inclined their heads downward, not daring to look ahead, Zhu Xi included. A few seconds later, the auspicious cloud landed and quickly dissipated. Zhu Xi felt the ground beneath her feet and her heart raced with anxiety. "Your Highness, these people are the masters of the Great Thousand World, whose foundations rank in the top 20 among the 3,000 great worlds." Upon hearing Beichen Star Monarch's voice, Zhu Xi and the others knelt down, their foreheads touching the ground, afraid to accidentally look up. A lazy voice sounded, uttering just one word. Yet it brought a boundless sense of oppression to everyone present. Zhu Xi's heartbeat quickened, and she subconsciously envisioned the Son of Heaven's visage in her mind. At this moment, her Tao fruit trembled, plunging her into an unprecedented state of unease. It's hard to imagine how high the realm of the Son of Heaven is, that merely uttering a single word could instill such fear. It wasn't just her. The world rulers on her left and right were equally affected. Even those whose cultivation had reached the innate golden immortal realm. All felt as powerless as ordinary mortals. Your Highness, we are close to bringing the 3,000 great worlds into our fold. Do you have any instructions? Bachan's Star Monarch inquired respectfully. The voice of the Son of Heaven followed. I have but one requirement. Ensure the beings of the 3,000 great worlds worship me. If they fail to satisfy me, with a flick of my finger, I shall annihilate the world. All beings related to this realm will vanish into nothingness, their souls dispersed, their bodies and Tao extinguished. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 797. The so-called hope, a flick of the finger to annihilate the world. Souls shatter and scatter. Life ends, Tao disappears. Zhu Shi listened to the great immortal divine Yuan's words, feeling as if she were in an icy cellar, her spine chilled. This Son of Heaven was even more arrogant and brutal than she had anticipated, filling her with worry about her future. Following such a Son of Heaven, even if they won, it seemed unlikely to end well. Bachan's Star Monarch's voice rang out. They will do it. Before coming here, Bachan's Star Monarch had instructed all the masters of the great worlds to speak as little as possible, and to agree to anything the Son of Heaven demanded without refusal. The great immortal divine Yuan responded, and immediately Zhu Shi felt a powerful and warm force envelop her. An endless stream of Tao spiritual qi and true meaning of the great Tao surged from all directions, causing her vestment robe to billow, strands of her hair floated up, and her lowered head showed a look of surprise. No matter how much she feared the great immortal divine Yuan in her heart, at this moment, she felt delighted by the opportunity she received. Not just her, but the other masters of the great worlds felt the same, believing they made the right gamble. At least for now, they have already benefited. Zhu Shi quickly felt a strong dizziness, causing her to lose consciousness rapidly. Uncertain of how much time had passed, Zhu Shi seemed to have had a very long dream, as if she experienced another life, but this life was different from a mortal's life, consisting only of continual enlightenment. When her consciousness awakened, she opened her eyes and found herself still in that dim great hall, surrounded by a mist of silver blue. Not just her, but the other masters of the great worlds were in the same condition. Some had already awakened and were cultivating, while others were still lying on the ground, not yet awake. Zhu Shi looked forward, and on the steps ahead was a gigantic, unoccupied treasure throne, while Bachan's Star Monarch stood before it, gazing into the distance, seemingly spying on something. She retracted her gaze, then got up and began to meditate in place. As she closed her eyes again, the insights from before erupted in her mind. Her understanding of the 3,000 great Tao was insanely enhancing, and even her cultivation level was rapidly increasing. The silver blue mist surrounding her was Tao spiritual qi, more advanced than the Tao spiritual qi of the 3,000 great worlds, making her so immersed that she couldn't extricate herself. Meanwhile, Bachan's Star Monarch frowned deeply, his eyes revealing a look of astonishment and doubt. What is that? In the bright celestial vault, a magnificent palace stood above the sea of clouds, with immortal gods constantly flying in and out. Inside the palace, Xianyuan Human Venerable sat on the emperor's throne, with one hand supporting his face and the other tapping lightly on the armrest. From his furrowed brows he appeared anxious. A figure flew into the hall, the light dispersed, and Sichuan the old immortal revealed his true form. Taking a few steps forward, he said, "Your Highness, he has agreed." Upon hearing this, Xianyuan Human Venerable jumped up with a look of surprise and immediately asked, "How did he say it?" Sichuan the old immortal recounted all his exchanges with Guan word for word, and after listening, Xianyuan Human Venerable also calmed down, slowly sitting down. "He indeed is an extraordinary great power, I have implicated him," Xianyuan Human Venerable remarked with emotion. Back then, when he held the advantage, he invited Guan, who politely declined. Now, as he reaches his downfall, Guan instead extends a helping hand for the celestial spirit great world's all living beings. Filling him with admiration for Guan, Sichuan the old immortal nodded. Sensing that Guan indeed disliked trouble, even hesitating when presented with the heavenly Tao Emperor Jade, Xianyuan Human Venerable followed up with the question, "Can he truly turn the tide alone?" Sichuan the old immortal replied helplessly, "Now only he is willing to act. Those supreme immortals are unwilling to intervene at this time. Even that Supreme One refuses to send disciples to aid you, and there's no response from other realms." Xianyuan Human Venerable was silent. Sichuan the old immortal also felt conflicted inside, but he understood that it wasn't because those powerful beings were too ruthless, but rather that in everyone's eyes, Xianyuan Human Venerable was indeed destined to lose. Even though he had gained Gu An's consent, Sichuan the old immortal merely felt there was hope for a comeback, without absolute confidence. The great immortal divine Yuan's forces had too many great powers, coupled with 90% of the 3,000 great worlds already under the great immortal divine Yuan's control, making it seem that this struggle for the Son of Heaven was already over. Did he mention when he would make a move? Xianyuan Human Venerable asked again. Sichuan the old immortal shook his head, saying, "He said he will choose the timing himself." Xianyuan Human Venerable frowned, feeling uncomfortable with this passive predicament. Before this struggle for the Son of Heaven began, he had been very popular in the celestial court, facing any immortal position with composure and nobody refusing his requests. Now he had not yet returned to the celestial court, but already felt the pressure from it. With everything he once had gradually slipping away, and those who once showed kindness perhaps now looking on coldly, watching him fall into the abyss. Xianyuan Human Venerable took a deep breath, trying hard to adjust his emotions. Just then he heard a wailing sound, causing him to raise an eyebrow involuntarily, and he looked outside the hall, asking, "What is that sound?" Sichuan the old immortal was also startled, turned to look. A breeze blew outside the hall, stirring his white hair. In his pupils, a dim void was reflected, with a silver light cutting through the darkness. "What is that?" Sichuan the old immortal's divine sense locked onto a great thousand world captured by the great immortal divine Yuan. That great thousand world had plunged into utter darkness, the demonic mist forming clouds, obscuring the sun, and the land desolate, littered with white bones. A gigantic divine sparrow carrying a seven-colored glow flew into this great thousand world, dispelling the darkness. Amidst a pile of rubble, there were dozens of human race cultivators meditating and healing. The silver light sprinkled on them, and they instinctively looked up, witnessing an unforgettable sight. It was a silver-white divine bird with wings spanning the sky, its long tail feathers bearing a seven-colored glow, like a rainbow unfurling. The eyes of the human race cultivators flickered with a peculiar light, and upon seeing such a majestic divine bird, hope and longing were born in their hearts involuntarily. In this dark era, with demons rampant, living was so hard, and all living beings yearned for hope, longing to see the light of day again. Yet the immortal gods did not aid them. Sangtian showed them no favor. Under their gaze, the silver-white divine bird flew towards the horizon, in the direction where the demonic chi was the densest. Se the Nefire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The ground began to quake. A familiar yet terrifying aura erupted from afar. Clearly, this silver-white divine bird had alarmed that demon. Could it be that the immortal gods have arrived? Nonsense. Those demons are mere minions of the immortal gods. It should be a spiritual object of heaven and earth. Though the immortal gods do not pity all living beings, heaven and earth do, for those demons hail from outer heaven. I wonder if it can prevail over those demons. The human race cultivators glanced at the silver-white divine bird, whispering anxiously, fearing the shattering of hope. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 798. Under the gaze of dozens of cultivators, a monstrous fog rose at the end of the world, its length and width immeasurable, seemingly swallowing half the sky. In the endless darkness appeared a pair of terrifying eyes, like two blood moons, oppressive and eerie. Dozens of cultivators felt their hearts race with fear, but when the gallant silver bird's majestic form entered their sight, their terror instantly dissipated a great deal. The silver-white divine bird showed no fear. As its divine wings vibrated, it did not stir up winds, seeming not to belong to this world, making it appear all the more agile. Suddenly, the silver-white divine bird abruptly accelerated, transforming into a rainbow of 7 colors, charging into the massive black fog, causing the heavens and earth to erupt with dazzling radiance, compelling dozens of cultivators to instinctively close their eyes, unable to look directly ahead. Roar! A hysterical roar echoed in their ears, deafening. Yet they were no longer afraid, because within those roars they heard despair. Those unyielding, supremely cruel evil demons were in despair. What an inspiring thing! Above the grand hall, Xianyuan Human Venerable stood before the throne, and together with Elder Sichuan, watched in the same direction. They all saw the silhouette of the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. Is it the ancestor Master Wuxia taking action? This bird is truly formidable. Xianyuan Human Venerable could not help but speak, his tone full of surprise. Elder Sichuan did not turn around, he steadily watched that great thousand world, seeing Wuxia Divine Sparrow press forward, annihilating all evil demons that obstructed its path. His heart equally stirred. It seemed the ancestor Master Wuxia is not just talk. With such a divine bird, who can resist? After all, being an immortal monarch, he cannot discern the cultivation level of this divine bird. Not only him, Xianyuan Human Venerable could not see through it either, which is why they felt invigorated, sensing hope to reverse the situation. Wuxia Divine Sparrow moved swiftly, only making a round through that great world and vanquishing all evil demons within. These demons hailed from chaos, yet facing Wuxia Divine Sparrow, no divine skills they performed could shake its form. Instead, they were burned to ashes by its overwhelming flames of 7 colors. Unstoppable. After destroying the evil demons of this great world, Wuxia Divine Sparrow flew outside the heavens, crossing the void, directly descending upon the next great world. This world was likewise occupied by the great immortal divine Yuan, and all beings were in distress. The rainbow light drove away the darkness, bringing light to all beings, bringing hope to Xianyuan Human Venerable. However, Xianyuan Human Venerable and Elder Sichuan saw an endless stream of great powers, evil demons approaching Wuxia Divine Sparrow. The moment Wuxia Divine Sparrow appeared, it alarmed the immortal gods under the great immortal divine Yuan. In this contest for the celestial mandate, some immortal gods were responsible for overseeing the entire situation, immediately detecting any changes. Upon arriving at the second great thousand world, spatial black holes continuously appeared in the dark celestial vault. Mighty heavenly soldiers and generals, members of the Mo Luo clan, and possessors of demon god bodies appeared, densely packed, quickly surrounding Wuxia Divine Sparrow. Even in the stone hall, Beichen Star Monarch saw this scene. He frowned, watching the magnificent Wuxia Divine Sparrow, feeling a sense of unease. The battle in the 3,000 great worlds was not his concern. His current responsibility was to oversee the master of the great world within the hall. What on earth is the origin of this bird? Why have I never seen it before? Beichen Star Monarch muttered to himself, continuing to observe, but the more he watched, the more alarmed he became. Even when encircled by a million opponents, that divine bird did not stop. It was completely unstoppable. Those he deemed formidable could not withstand the divine bird. Their attacks utterly ineffective. You successfully seized 908,762,431 years of lifespan from Night Demon Monarch, early stage of innate golden immortal realm. You successfully seized 32,870,871,107 years of lifespan from Su Qiuma, late stage of Hengtian golden immortal realm. You successfully seized 64,592,883 years of lifespan from Heavenly Falling Star, late stage of innate golden immortal realm. One prompt after another popped up before Gu An's eyes. He couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, those daring to participate in the celestial mandate struggle mostly have known their fate, and had to take a gamble to avoid death. Immortal gods could not grant him lifespan, but fortunately, there were enough evil demons. Gu An's lifespan began to surge wildly, even making his Tao heart ripple. To him, the lifespan was like the experience bar in a game, concerning his strength. Seeing the experience bar shoot up at an unprecedented pace, he felt both exhilarated and somewhat anxious. Even though he was killing evil demons of the most despicable kind, killing too many could become burdensome. The novel F.I.R. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He could only think that he was helping the 3,000 great worlds, and with Xianyuan human venerable around, the celestial court would not hold him accountable. Although he already possessed the ability to face the celestial court, Guan still did not want to prematurely become its enemy. The celestial emperor was his imaginary foe, not that he necessarily wanted to battle the celestial emperor, but he had to ensure he possessed the effortless strength to eradicate the celestial emperor, before he could completely disregard the celestial court. Guan stood up, preparing to take a walk in the dojo to disperse his focus. But the speed at which his lifespan increased was faster than he imagined. When he reached the foot of the mountain, new prompts appeared before him. Your lifespan has broken through 10 trillion years for the first time, unlocking the lifespan inheritance feature. Lifespan inheritance. You can freely choose to consume a certain number of lifespans to conduct lifespan inheritance. You will enter the vanished Enlightenment Seeker Dojo to listen to their teachings. The grade of the dojo corresponds to the lifespan you consume, with a minimum consumption of 100 billion years per session. Not an upgrade to the previous lifespan feature? Looking at the 100 billion years consumption bottom line, Guan felt it was a trap. There once was a time when 100 billion years was a lifespan number he could only aspire to. No, can't use it recklessly. Guan thought silently. He had already unlocked lifespan detection, lifespan barrier, lifespan deduction, life expectancy prediction, lifespan fusion, lifespan reincarnation, lifespan simulation, lifespan dojo, lifespan breakthrough, lifespan projection, and lifespan inheritance. Many of these features he rarely used, but he would never consider them too few. Some things can go unused but cannot be absent. Guan moved along the small river at the foot of the mountain, his gaze shifting towards the 3,000 great worlds. Wusher Divine Sparrow flew over one great thousand world after another, attracting the pursuit of great immortal Divine Yuan's minions, while immortal gods were ceaselessly obliterated and resurrected, continuously returning to battle. Meanwhile, the Mo Luo clan was frightened, and the number of those going to support dwindled. Various sects of the Great Thousand Worlds dared not rashly participate, and Guan did not make things difficult for them because they had no choice. Exhausting and eradicating all evil demons and immortal gods, each Great Thousand World would naturally return to peace. After the calamity, each world's sects would need to govern and restore the heavens and earth. Arriving at a valley, Guan saw Nzizai teaching a disciple a lesson. The disciple was a young man, kneeling before Nzizai. Facing the stern Nzizai, the disciple wore a defiant expression, meeting his gaze without fear. Guan became intrigued. Nzizai's prestige within the Wusher far exceeded Nzin's. With Nzizai not present, the disciples feared him most. Yet there was a disciple daring to be stubborn with Nzizai. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 799, Major Variables. Do you still not realize your mistake? Nzizai glared angrily at the disciple kneeling in front of him, and shouted somberly. The disciple looked up, gritting his teeth, and said, "What mistake did I make?" That person relied on his family's influence to bully others. As a Wushiji disciple, I ought to take action when I see such things. Do you not know the rules of the Wusher sect? Wushiji disciples must not interfere in the affairs and grievances on the continent. If you encounter injustice, you can report it to the officials. With your status as a Wushiji disciple, no one would dare neglect you. Reporting to the officials who merely evade responsibility, what is the point? Is my cultivation not meant to punish the wicked and eradicate evil? Are you questioning Wusher, questioning the Nine Spirit Dynasty? I am not questioning. It's just that when I encounter it, I cannot let it go. Watching the two confront each other, Guan also understood the ins and outs of the situation, and simultaneously gained a clear impression of the disciple. This disciple was named Zhuangxian, the 8th-generation disciple of Wuxia, born on the 9-spirit continent. His family was relatively happy. Although his talent was not the strongest, he was born with an overwhelming sense of justice, always stepping in to help when he saw injustice. This drew the attention of Duanli. Duanli inherited the destiny-defying divine skill modified by Guan, and through continuous passing of skills, his cultivation ranked among the top in Wuxia. Zhuangxian was his direct disciple, but he did not inherit the destiny-defying divine skill. Instead, he was personally taught by Nzizai. Nzizai treated him as his own flesh and blood, only falling short of imparting the myriad supreme palm to him. On the surface, the 9-spirit continent seemed harmonious, but in places with many people, injustice inevitably arises. Human nature is also unpredictable. Even at the foot of Wuxia, unjust events still happen. Whenever the suffering came to kneel before Wuxia Mountain's gate, Nzizai would send people to aid them. He didn't want Wuxiji disciples to interfere too much in worldly affairs, as this would accumulate more conflicts and alter the disciples' mindset. After all, Wuxia was an immortal cultivation arena, not a product of power. Seeing Zhuangxian still stubborn, Nzizai, irritated, wanted to slap him, but his right hand hovered over his head, unable to come down. "You truly want to anger me to death." Nzizai scolded with glaring eyes. As he was about to speak harshly, he suddenly noticed Guan walking towards them. His anger dissipating instantly, he hurriedly sidestepped Zhuangxian and approached Guan. Zhuangxian instinctively turned to look, and when he saw Guan, his face changed dramatically. He immediately bowed his head, his heart suddenly in turmoil. He was not familiar with the ancestor but had met him a few times. Although they didn't have much interaction, he admired the ancestor the most. Thinking he might embarrass himself in front of the ancestor threw his heart into chaos. However, he did not regret it. He believed he hadn't done anything wrong. Even if he were expelled from Wuxia, he wouldn't regret it. "Do you intend to strike your junior?" Guan came to Nzizai and asked with a smile, and before his eyes, messages about seizing lifespan kept popping up, putting him in a very pleasant mood. Nzizai almost broke into a cold sweat hearing this. He helplessly said, "Who told him to be so stubborn?" He narrated what Zhuangxian had done, seemingly angry, yet his tone unavoidably conveyed a sense of gratification. Zhuangxian was righteous, loved to fight against injustice, and refused to yield. A disciple like this was rarely found even at the Wuxia dojo. Though Wuxiji disciples were not evil, because of countless years of transmission, most had developed a detached attitude, put harshly, indifference. Nzizai understood Guan's constraints were out of fear that the disciples would become too indulgent, so he was in no position to judge whether the rules of Wuxia were right or wrong. He needed to follow Guan's established rules. He's quite good like this. Different ways should be allowed. As long as one is wholeheartedly benevolent, it's not necessarily bad. If you want to forge him, why not let him go out and train? Guan, smiling, commented. Somehow, looking at Zhuangxian reminded him of his reincarnation body, Yangxian, who also loved to stand against injustice, unyielding, though not as impetuous as Zhuangxian. Speaking of which, Liya also possessed a sense of justice, but Liya acted with more discretion, never being stubbornly fixated. He idles around every day. If he wants to cultivate to the Zizai immortal realm, he may still need some time. And Nzizai shook his head and sighed. "It's all right, let him go ahead. Consider it an exception." Guan waved his sleeve with a generous laugh, but his words instead made Nzizai hesitate. Nzizai hesitated in speaking, and Guan, reading his thoughts, reproached, "I say training means training. I never beat around the bush. I also want to see if, after experiencing the red dust, he will still maintain such a pure heart. I am very much looking forward to it." With that, Guan walked towards the distant mountains and forests, his gaze gliding over Zhuangxian's back without a trace. Nzizai froze, then grew delighted and promptly bent in salute towards Guan. After Guan disappeared into the forest, Nzizai approached Zhuangxian. At this moment, Zhuangxian was apprehensive, uncertain if the ancestor's arrangement was to train him or to suppress his spirit. Nzizai looked down at him and said, You heard him, prepare to go out and train. As for when to return, I won't limit you, but you must stay outside for at least 1,000 years. Zhuangxian, fearless, responded loudly, all right. I will never let you or the ancestor down. His words sounded like a promise, but his tone seemed to oppose Nzizai, and Nzizai glared at him, urging, hurry up and get out of here. Zhuangxian knelt and bowed to Nzizai, then stood up and left. Be sure to inform your master first. Nzizai instructed. Upon hearing this, Zhuangxian waved his hand as he walked away without looking back. Se of the Ovalfire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Watching his back, Nzizai's stern expression faded, replaced by anticipation. How many years had it been? It was the first time the ancestor personally arranged for a disciple to train, also anticipating whether this boy would change his will. I hope you truly remain as repulsed by evil as you claim. If you maintain it, you will turn the tide, which is also the good fortune a righteous heart should have. Nzizai thought silently, having realized a deeper meaning. If Zhuangxian returns and earns Gu An's commendation and inheritance, it will inspire other disciples to foster a spirit of goodwill and guide them towards the direction Wuxia should take. But then again, the ancestor seemed so happy. What exactly happened? Nzizai turned to watch where Guan had gone, curious about what had transpired. Meanwhile, Guan continued along the mountain path, sunlight streaming through the gaps in the leaves, falling upon him. The prompts in front of him had not ceased. His lifespan had already increased to an astonishing degree. He even felt that after this battle, he could pursue a higher realm. Of course, it would be best to lay low for now. If he broke through again even amidst chaos, it might alarm the entire celestial court, possibly rousing the celestial emperor from his immersion in reincarnation. At that moment, Guan raised an eyebrow. A turn of events occurred in the battle across the 3,000 great worlds. Even such beings are joining the fight? This was an occurrence never before seen in the previous fates, indicating something extraordinary lay behind the great immortal divine Yuan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 800. Not allowed to roam freely inside the dimly lit Great Hall. All the masters of the great worlds were already awake, sitting in meditation, reviewing their earlier gains. Zhu Shi suddenly opened her eyes, her eyebrows knitted tightly, a look of confusion in her eyes. As she pondered, she lifted her gaze when she caught sight of Beichen's Star Monarch, and couldn't help being drawn to his expression. Beichen's Star Monarch stood on the steps, gazing at the dark celestial vault outside the palace. It was unclear what he was thinking, but his expression clearly showed he was troubled. Could it be that the Son of Heaven met with mishap? Zhu Shi instantly thought of this. She closed her eyes to avoid being noticed by Beichen's Star Monarch. But she was no longer able to cultivate peacefully. If something truly happened to the Son of Heaven, wouldn't it mean the celestial throne struggle would shift? Even though the great immortal divine Yuan had already reclaimed 90% of the great worlds, Zhu Shi always felt uneasy, because no matter how she looked at it, the actions of the great immortal divine Yuan did not conform to the heavenly Tao. How could immortal gods drive evil demons into battle and allow them to devour all living beings? Although the Taiwei Great World was spared from the evil demons occupying and spreading chaos, it was only because she allied with the great immortal divine Yuan at the beginning of the celestial throne struggle. She had heard of the fate of other great thousand worlds, all of which had become human purgatories under the occupation of the great immortal divine Yuan. It was precisely because of these actions that left these auxiliary forces confused and uneasy, fearing that after the great immortal divine Yuan's victory, their meritorious deeds would be erased. If this Son of Heaven truly fails, how should the Taiwei Great World conduct itself? Zhu Shi thought with a heavy heart. Although she was an outsider, she had been in the Taiwei Great World for so many years and founded the new Holy Court. She had come to regard the Taiwei Great World as her own, and did not wish for it to become yet another purgatory for evil demons. Meanwhile, in another great hall far away, Xianyuan Human Venerable and Ci Xian Old Immortal were also observing the battle. Unlike Beichen's Star Monarch's worried expression, These two immortal gods were very excited, praising the power of the Wusher divine sparrow. Even if a supreme immortal takes action, it might not stop this bird. Ancestor Master Wusher is truly formidable to rear a divine creature like this. Xian Old Immortal stroked his beard and laughed, saying that the celestial court also had powerful divine beasts and immortal beasts. But such a mighty existence as the Wusher divine sparrow was rare, and even Xian Old Immortal, despite living countless years, had never seen such a majestic presence. CTH Nafire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Wusher divine sparrow was like a sharp arrow, piercing through the 3,000 great worlds, using its own radiance to tear apart the darkness enshrouding the great thousand world, incinerating the world's evil demons, advancing relentlessly, unstoppable. There are indeed many clever people. Xianyuan Human Venerable smirked mockingly. Those living beings and evil demons without celestial destiny from the celestial court dared not approach the Wusher divine sparrow. Only the heavenly soldiers and generals pressed on, unafraid of death. Xian Old Immortal responded. When those immortal gods die enough times, even their courage will dissipate. Immortal gods might be immortal, but they cannot be resurrected continuously. Each resurrection consumes their celestial destiny, and when exhausted, a decline in cultivation level is the least. Severely, they might lose their immortal position, and those immortal gods wouldn't risk their lives for the great immortal divine Yuan to such an extent. Xianyuan Human Venerable nodded. The situation was favorable, which also improved his mood greatly. He was about to say something when his expression suddenly changed. Xian Old Immortal also sensed something. His eyes widened in disbelief as he exclaimed, "How is this possible? What is this aura?" An overwhelming celestial might, far beyond his cultivation level, was descending upon the 3,000 great worlds, oppressing the living beings of every world, including those of the celestial spirit great world. Which celestial Tao Venerable wants to aid the great immortal divine Yuan? Is this permissible? Xian Old Immortal anxiously asked, feeling it unfair that when the tides were about to turn in their favor, a celestial Tao Venerable came to support the great immortal divine Yuan. The celestial throne struggle does not allow celestial Tao Venerables to intervene. The most important test is to win over the mortal spirits. Ancestor Master Wusher lacks celestial destiny, which is within the rules. Xianyuan Human Venerable's face was solemn as he stated. It's not a venerable, it's a supreme immortal, one of the strongest among the supremes. Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal. These words fell like a heavy hammer, rendering Xian Old Immortal silent. The Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal is known as the pinnacle of immortals, and beyond that, even though still named immortal, they transcend that realm, becoming akin to the great Tao itself. In the celestial court, the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal is also a supremely powerful presence. Xian Old Immortal thought of those Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals who remain as supremes, feeling an overwhelming pressure bearing down. Those beings remain as supremes only due to insufficient merit or previous misaligned allegiance. They have become reclusive and unpredictable due to various reasons, making Xian Old Immortal feel as though he was walking on the edge of a knife around them. After a while, Xian Old Immortal managed to squeeze out a question. Your Highness, will Ancestor Master Wusher take action against Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal? Xianyuan Human Venerable did not answer. His pupils reflected the form of the Wusher Divine Sparrow. The Wusher Divine Sparrow seemed unaware of the arrival of the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal, continuing to press forward. The immortal gods along the way were like countless light stars disintegrating upon contact, unable to halt its advance. Within the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan continued to wander, no longer seeing lifespan prompts before him, as now all the enemies besieging the Wusher Divine Sparrow were immortal gods, which left him slightly regretful. Even the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal wants to participate in the celestial throne struggle. It seems that no matter how high the cultivation level, there are times when one cannot see through the situation. Guan thought silently, though he did not consider the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal a threat. He couldn't help but reflect upon seeing the involvement of a Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal. In the endless Tao Mountain, The Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal was a supreme existence. Even immortal gods were willing to listen to their teachings. Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals possessed vast divine skills, capable of traversing past and future, even creating worlds. Theoretically, such beings should have found freedom. Yet why engage in great cause and effect? Xianyuan Human Venerable holds the Celestial Emperor's Heavenly Tao Emperor Jade. Could it be that behind the great immortal divine Yuan, there is a will challenging the Celestial Emperor? It seems that even the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals in the Celestial Court cannot achieve true freedom. A figure appeared out of thin air before Guan. It was an Xian, her eyes already turned into Immortal Emperor's eye, her purple pupils exuding such a sinister depth unfathomable. Master, is there a formidable enemy approaching? An Xian asked with a frown. She had been in seclusion for enlightenment, but suddenly felt an unsettling aura. Her divine sense dispersed, discovering that all living beings in the world felt it, some becoming uneasy, some fearful, and some confused. Guan stopped his steps, looked up, and said, "It's not aiming at the celestial spirit great world. That individual intends to seize the 3,000 great worlds. Who is it and why do this? An immortal god, probably here for the celestial throne struggle." Guan's response deepened the frown on Nzin's brow. Another celestial throne struggle. How many years has it been? And why is it not over yet? Guan's gaze traversed one great thousand world after another, across the void universe, to the dark void outside the 3,000 great worlds. The 3,000 great worlds are not situated in the same dimension, nor are they adjacent, but a mystical cause and effect links them from different directions. At this moment, within the darkness, a hand was raised, a white right hand with a broad and long white sleeve extending from the wrist. This hand slowly turned over, palm facing forward, beginning to advance. As its 5 fingers started to close, countless star-like lights appeared in the palm, too many to count. When this hand formed a fist, the celestial vault of the 3,000 great worlds suddenly darkened. Day turned to night, and night became even darker. An Xian, standing next to Guan, was astonished by this scene, instinctively looking towards Guan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 801. Facing Nzin's gaze, Guan remained expressionless and said nothing, which made an Xian have to look up again at the dim celestial vault. The entire world suddenly darkened. The all-living beings of the 9-spirit continent were in an uproar. The noise was deafening. Even under the protection of Wuxia, it was like this, let alone the outside world. The multitudes were terrified and uneasy. Countless great cultivators came to outer heaven, discovering that the celestial Tao light layer covering the celestial spirit great world had turned dark, which was why the world was in night. Looking at the pitch-black celestial Tao light layer, all the great cultivators felt a chill on their backs, always feeling that a catastrophe was imminent, which made everyone feel oppressed. Other great thousand worlds were similarly enveloped in an atmosphere of panic. In the distant darkness, that hand slowly retracted, bringing the fist to the chest. It belonged to a man in white robes, his figure tall, white hair casually draping, with a white jade head ornament on his forehead. His face was handsome, but his brows exuded a coldness. He seemed like a cold and ruthless ruler. Even as he held the 3,000 great worlds in his hands, causing countless creatures to fear, his expression did not change in the slightest. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed, focusing on his right fist. Silvery flames seeped through the gaps of his fingers, causing this Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal to feel a burning pain, and a look of astonishment appeared in his eyes. He then opened his right fist, and silver flames surged in his palm, like a mountain flood, rushing into the dark void. Sar the Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The white-robed Daoyuo Immortal raised his gaze to see a magnificent figure manifesting within the vast silver flames. It was the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. The Wuxia Divine Sparrow rapidly expanded, its wings spreading out with gusts of air, fluttering the white-robed Daoyuo Immortal's robes, looking down upon him. In front of the Wuxia Divine Sparrow, the white-robed Daoyuo Immortal was as small as sand before Mount Tai. The white-robed Daluo immortal looked up at the Wuxia divine sparrow, with his right hand still held at his chest, with a dense number of spots of light hovering above his palm, and those were the 3,000 great worlds. Holding the 3,000 great worlds, his aura was so steady that he wasn't suppressed by the Wuxia divine sparrow. Who are you, with such cultivation level, yet not belonging to the celestial court? Perhaps you and I have met before. The white-robed Daluo immortal spoke, his tone exuding a sense of supremacy. He may not have been the strongest existence, but he was definitely one of those who have lived the longest, having even ventured into chaos. The Wuxia divine sparrow did not answer him. It merely floated before him, flapping its wings. The heavenly will belongs to the great immortal divine Yuan. I hope fellow Taoist does not oppose it. The defeat of Xian Yuan human venerable is already certain, so why act at this critical juncture? The white-robed Daluo immortal inquired. His Dao extreme Daluo immortal aura fully erupting, causing immortal gods and great powers within the 3,000 great worlds to be awed. To think even such an existence is taking action. Su Yu, standing next to Zhang Buku, said solemnly, his eyes for the first time showing strong apprehension. Zhang Buku looked up at the dark celestial vault, saying nothing, not knowing what sort of existence had startled such immortal gods. Their celestial army was currently recuperating, and had not gone to war for 10,000 years. Not just them, many immortal gods were looking up at the celestial Dao light layers of the realms, wanting to see the figure of the white-robed Daluo immortal, but they could see nothing. The white-robed Daluo immortal was freely displaying his aura. He looked at the Wuxia divine sparrow, his lips curling into an arrogant smile, a smile of supreme confidence. Even if the opponent was also a Dao extreme Daluo immortal, he was unafraid. Being of the same Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm, he hailed from the celestial court, possessing an innate advantage. Moreover, he hadn't had a hearty battle for many years, seldom fighting since stepping into the Dao extreme Daluo immortal realm. The Wuxia divine sparrow continued flapping its wings, seemingly not understanding his words, giving no response, retreating neither forward nor backward, which made a cold gleam flash in his eyes. In that case, let me personally drive you away. The white-robed Daluo immortal snorted coldly, dropping his right hand, raising his left hand, and grabbing in the void, miraculously forming 9 true dragons radiating brilliant light, larger than the Wuxia divine sparrow, attacking it from all directions. The 9 dragons jointly attacked, unleashing an unparalleled domineering killing pressure that enveloped the Wuxia divine sparrow, causing the silvery flames on its body to freeze. Boom! The white robe of the white-robed Daluo immortal billowed violently, his gaze firmly fixed on the Wuxia divine sparrow. As soon as the 9 true dragons touched the Wuxia divine sparrow, they were instantly annihilated. The intense light illuminated the dark void, causing the white-robed Daluo immortal to squint. Seeing that his formation couldn't shake the Wuxia divine sparrow, the white-robed Daluo immortal was not panicked. His left hand covered with Dao extreme patterns, each containing profound true meaning of the great Dao, instantly presenting the 3,000 great Dao in the dark void, transforming into great rivers of the Dao, rapidly surrounding them. The great rivers of the Dao intertwined, countless world scenes reflected in each great river of the Dao. After blocking Wuxia divine sparrow's retreat, the white-robed Daluo immortal's left hand then manifested a large fan made of peacock feathers, which he waved at the Wuxia divine sparrow. A violent Dao true fire rose out of nowhere, instantly engulfing the Wuxia divine sparrow, occupying the space within the confines of the great rivers of the Dao. The firelight shone on the face of the white-robed Daluo immortal, with flames burning in his pupils. Suddenly, silver light burst out from the sea of fire, swiftly covering his pupils. Boom! The celestial vault of the 3,000 great worlds suddenly became bright, turning night into day, and even brighter than the usual daytime. An Exion saw the celestial vault brighten suddenly. Her heart tightened even more. As her immortal emperor's eye was in intense disquiet. Her intuition told her that if she leapt to outer heaven now, something terrifying surely awaited her. Guan retracted his gaze and turned to leave. And Zin's gaze followed him, and she saw the world dim down to the usual daylight brightness, but compared to before, it seemed somewhat dusky. Seeing her master depart, She knew the mysterious struggle in outer heaven had concluded. The unease brought by the immortal emperor's eye quickly dissipated. She was full of confusion in her heart. What had happened, and what kind of existence had released the previous aura? Meanwhile, Xianyuan human venerable and Ci Xian elder immortal stood in the grand hall, nervously waiting. They couldn't see the battle beyond the heavens, for the celestial Dao destiny had been severed. They suddenly felt the aura of that Dao extreme Daoyuo immortal disappear abruptly. The celestial Dao light layer of the 3,000 great worlds quickly returned to normal. Could it be? Ci Xian elder immortal began excitedly, but didn't finish, fearing another mishap. Xianyuan human venerable was shocked, murmuring, "How is it possible so quickly?" His mind was in turmoil. He had suspected the ancestor master Wuxia to be strong, but he had not expected this strong. To drive off a Dao extreme Daoyuo immortal in such a short time? And one from the celestial court at that. He followed with a sense of awe. Such a great power was actually willing to support him. Fortunately, he hadn't been too overbearing when facing the ancestor master Wuxia earlier. Otherwise, he feared he wouldn't have walked out of the Taoist field of the beginningless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 802. Vast life span above the layers of the cloud sea. The white-robed Daoyuo immortal appeared out of thin air. He raised his right foot, seemingly wanting to step forward, but his foot hung in mid-air, unable to land for a long time. His whole body trembled, his face looked extremely bad, and in his pupils, the image of the Wuxia divine sparrow charging at him kept reflecting. His hands and his sleeves were clenched tightly, and his mood was extremely unsettled. He possessed the cultivation level of a Dao extreme Daoyuo immortal in perfection. Facing that divine bird, his immortal body was obliterated in an instant. When he resurrected and flew out from the heavenly pool, even the celestial gods guarding the pool cast surprised glances at him, which he found so ironic. How could this be? Who on earth is he? Could it be the Xianqi primordial immortal? The white-robed Daoyuo immortal's face shifted between clear and gloomy. Even though he had deliberately concealed the heavenly secret before striking, preventing the celestial court from noticing this battle. Once Xianyuan human venerable won, the news would undoubtedly reach the celestial court, and he would definitely become the laughingstock of heaven. He was burning with rage, yet inwardly somewhat fearful. This conflicting emotion made it difficult for him to step forward. The opponent could so easily obliterate him. Their cultivation level must vastly surpass his. Going again would only be self-humiliation. But if he didn't go, then the great immortal divine Yuan would be finished. He could see Xianyuan human venerable mobilizing his troops, preparing to launch a counterattack. After this battle, the morale of the great immortal divine Yuan's side had plummeted, and in the eyes of the white-robed Daoyuo immortal, he could already see the 3,000 great worlds falling entirely into Xianyuan human venerable's hands. The white-robed Daoyuo immortal fell silent, standing above the cloud sea for a long time, finally choosing to return to the celestial court. After the unsettling atmosphere across the 3,000 great worlds dispersed, the clamor in various realms continued for a long time. The celestial spirit great world was the first to quiet down, while other great worlds plunged back into turmoil. After defeating the white-robed Daoyuo immortal, the Wuxia divine sparrow once again descended on the 3,000 great worlds, continuing to gallop and exterminate the evil demons remaining in various realms. This caused more and more evil demons to flee, and the number of immortal gods coming to stop the Wuxia divine sparrow dwindled. Until dusk, Guan retrieved the Wuxia divine sparrow. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 29,681,470/231,532,521,418,418,460. Physique: Primordial infinite creation Dao body. Cultivation level: Primordial profound venerable immortal realm perfection. Guan's lifespan increased to 230 trillion years. When he broke through the 100 trillion years lifespan, he didn't activate new lifespan abilities or upgrade opportunities, but he didn't mind, as he was enjoying the joy brought by the enormous lifespan. Breaking through to the next great realm is secure. Guan was overjoyed, but worry followed. Today, the Wuxia divine sparrow slaughtered far too many evil demons, and their cultivation levels were not low, involving unimaginable cause and effect. Now lifespan alerts continuously appeared before Guan's eyes, not to seize lifespan, but to predict life expectancy in determining cause and effect nemesis. The life expectancy prediction is indeed a good thing. At least it gives him a sense of crisis. No matter how high his cultivation, seeing these endless enemies was inevitably disconcerting. Guan shook his head, ready to fish to soothe his mood. The 9 spirit continents' dusk was beautiful, with birds flying across the sky like they carried hope. Everything appeared so harmonious. In the distance, within a valley, Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals of Jin Dong stood on the grass, looking up at the celestial vault. Their gaze directed toward the other great thousand world. All immortal gods' faces filled with shock. Did it really turn around? Who on earth is that divine sparrow? So terrifying, those chaos evil demons, immortal gods turned to ash before it. The one who earlier concealed the heavenly secret must be an even more terrifying existence. That divine sparrow disappeared for a while. When it returned, the heavenly secret resumed. Something must have happened in between. Human Venerable actually still had such means hidden. The 72 immortals of Jin Dong talked excitedly, not because they supported Xianyuan Human Venerable, but seeing him, seemingly defeated, suddenly reverse a defeat lasting millions of years within one day was so thrilling, making them inevitably excited. Purple Dragon Star Monarch noticed Tai Immortal Monarch remaining silent, wondering what he was thinking, his brow furrowed. Unable to hold back, he transmitted his voice to inquire. Immortal Monarch, do you know the origin of that divine sparrow? Tai Immortal Monarch turned back, glancing sideways at him, which made his heart tremble with excitement. Could it be? Purple Dragon Star Monarch thought of something. He got excited as well, recalling his experience upon coming to the celestial spirit great world. It felt dreamlike. It was not the first time he was shocked by Ancestor Master Wuxi's cultivation. Who on earth is this person? He suddenly suspected Ancestor Master Wuxia to be an avatar of a celestial Tao Venerable. Only this possibility made sense. Going forward, build the celestial spirit great world well. It will be our greatest opportunity. Tai Immortal Monarch said solemnly, making Purple Dragon Star Monarch nod. Don't be fooled by Tai Immortal Monarch's calm demeanor. Inside he's laughing uncontrollably. Such cultivation, even if unrelated to the celestial court, will inevitably make one a supreme immortal, celestial Tao Venerable. Judging by Guan allowing his disciple to ascend to immortality, he bore no enmity toward the celestial court, coupled with his attitude toward all living beings. Following such a person, Tai Immortal Monarch was at ease, filled with infinite anticipation. After gambling so many times, he finally gambled right this time. In the dim great hall, the atmosphere was oppressive. All masters of the great world stood, no longer reminiscing about previous insights. Their gazes fell on Baichen Star Monarch. Baichen Star Monarch continued standing atop the steps, but his face was utterly sour, not hiding his terrible mood. The masters of the great world were filled with confusion and unease, yet no one dared to speak. After a long time, Baichen Star Monarch seemed to hear something. His expression changed. He took a deep breath and looked at the crowd, saying, "Go back, reorganize your forces, and prepare for battle." Without waiting for questions, he waved his sleeves, sending them out of this realm. Once the hall was left with only him, he sighed, then took out a copper mirror from his sleeve, casting magic onto it. After a while, the mirror surface emitted a ray of light, illuminating a figure with immortal elegance and Taoist bones. "Master, circumstances have changed." Baichen Star Monarch gritted his teeth, recounting everything that had happened. Se of the Nephire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The figure on the mirror was an elder in a cyan robe, with extraordinary presence. His look was as cold as that of the white-robed Daoyuo Immortal, but as Baichen Star Monarch spoke more, his brows furrowed. Baichen Star Monarch finished speaking, nervously watching the elder, waiting for him to speak. The elder remained silent for a while, then spoke. "Give up, directly return to the celestial court to face punishment. I will intercede for you." It is at least a better outcome than after the defeat of the great immortal divine Yuan. Upon hearing this, Beichen's star monarch's face dramatically changed. He instinctively wanted to plead, but the words stuck in his throat as he met his master's gaze. He finally swallowed his words, sighed, and bowed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 803. Above the Revered Immortal. The upheaval of counterattacks erupted across the 3,000 great worlds, with the great immortal divine Yuan drawing chaos evil demons into battle, causing all living beings across the great worlds to suffer deeply. As Xianyuan human venerable began to counterattack, many native forces in various great worlds began to overthrow the rule of the great immortal divine Yuan. The Wuxia divine sparrow flew across the 3,000 great worlds, witnessed by countless living beings. Everyone believed that the Wuxia divine sparrow brought victory and hope. Shrines and temples dedicated to the Wuxia divine sparrow sprang up like mushrooms after rain across various realms. The Wuxia divine sparrow was bestowed numerous titles. In the years that followed, even Guan, who was far away at the Taoist field of the beginningless, could sense a unique destiny rushing toward him, which was the faith of all living beings in the Wuxia divine sparrow. The destiny born from this faith was extremely complex. It could help him enhance his cultivation level, allow him to create magical treasures, spiritual objects, and more. It could be said to be omnipotent. No wonder the immortal gods desire incense from the human world. It is worth mentioning that merit does not belong to the heavenly Tao. Guan directly stored this merit within the Wuxia divine sparrow, keeping it for later use. He didn't intend to enhance his cultivation level with the merit, but rather saved it for any unforeseen use. In the years that followed, there were no major changes in the celestial spirit great world, but the 3,000 great worlds descended into unprecedented frenzy. The more oppression inflicted by the great immortal divine Yuan, the more emotions were released by all living beings now. However, without a powerful force like Guan stepping in, Xianyuan human venerable needed time to annex all the great thousand worlds of the great immortal divine Yuan. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years passed. Guan sat within a bamboo grove, boiling tea while gazing at the 3,000 great worlds. After so many years of counterattacks, 60% of the great worlds had fallen under Xianyuan human venerable, while the morale on the side of the great immortal divine Yuan plummeted. More and more immortal gods abandoned their support for the great immortal divine Yuan, and switched to supporting Xianyuan human venerable, including many new faces. Even immortal gods have a human side. Seeing that Xianyuan human venerable was likely to win, many immortal gods wanted to contribute to his success. To stabilize the situation, under the persuasion of Zixuan old immortal, Xianyuan chose to accept these immortal gods' help, even sharing benefits with them, and allowing them to spread Taoism in the human world. What seemed like a battle between two sons of heaven was, for many immortal gods, a rare opportunity. Each immortal god possesses immortal authority. It's not something that can easily be exercised by descending to the mortal world to preach, which is why the previous immortal god did so by sending dreams, as his true self could not appear. Guan watched the actions of those immortal gods, as if watching a play, while contemplating his next breakthrough plan. With such a long lifespan, he could completely improve himself in all aspects, but he felt his current Taoist techniques were already strong enough, adequate for now, since he wasn't experiencing any pressure from others in the same realm. Search * the novel, Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, upon recalling the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation encountered by Gu Xianyu, he changed his mind. No. He not only needed a higher cultivation level, but his combat power must also far surpass others in the same realm. To be invincible does not mean having no rivals one-on-one, but rather being undefeated no matter how many enemies come. Guan even started hypothesizing the possibility of multiple celestial emperors existing in the celestial court, since the position of celestial emperor can be inherited. What if the ancient celestial emperor wasn't dead? Just as Guan pondered, two figures walked out from the bamboo grove. They were Zizai and Zhuangxian. Zhuangxian had been training outside for 3,000 years, and aside from his somewhat travel-worn appearance, his overall demeanor and vital energy showed little change. The two arrived beside Guan and bowed in greeting. And Zizai spoke. Ancestor, Zhuangxian has returned from his training excursion. Is there anything you'd have him do? The reason for asking this was his hope that Guan would take notice of Zhuangxian and personally nurture this young man. Gaining Guan's direct teachings would certainly enable him to surpass other disciples, just like in Zizai. Among those of a younger generation, there were many with talent and comprehension beyond him. Yet beneath the second-generation disciples, none could shake his standing in terms of power and status. Zhuangxian looked at Guan without much excitement, appearing very composed. Guan raised his eyes to evaluate Zhuangxian and asked, "During this excursion, were there any tasks beyond your power?" Zhuangxian replied, "Yes, many. My cultivation is too weak to help many people. Some demon sects need destroying. I will cultivate properly and venture out again in the future." He didn't directly ask Guan to intervene, which made Zizai reassess him. In fact, over the years, Zizai had constantly been observing him, aware of all his experiences. Zhuangxian had been furious and irrational, but once he returned to the beginningless, he exhibited calmness. He wouldn't let others help enforce his will. Any regrets? Yes. I was deceived into thinking she would truly reform, only for her to cause more deaths. Even after personally killing her, it didn't change this fact. I swore never to show compassion again. Did anything occur that shook your beliefs? Yes, I met someone who upheld justice, helping mortal spirits everywhere indiscriminately, whether humans or untransformed beasts. He aided without seeking anything in return. He saved many mortal spirits, yet in the immortal cultivation realm, he was a demon, notorious for refining soul banners from cultivators. I don't know whether to label him as good or evil. As he spoke these words, Zhuangxian's expression turned complex. Guan smiled and said, "It seems you've gained a lot. Go on." Zhuangxian immediately bowed, and then turned to leave. And Zizai hesitated for a moment, sometimes gazing at Zhuangxian's departing figure, sometimes looking at Guan, as if wanting to speak but refraining. He's good material. There's no need to rush. When the time is right, I'll teach him Taoist techniques. He himself feels it's not suitable now. Guan picked up the teapot and said softly. Hearing this, Zizai smiled, for Guan's words assured him that Zhuangxian's future success was promising. He quickly thanked Guan, and then refrained from disturbing him further. After Zizai left, Guan decided to make a breakthrough the next day. He had already begun to envision the realm beyond the mixed element, profound venerable immortal. Not until nightfall did Guan finally rise and leave. Returning to his courtyard as usual, he chatted casually with Shenzhen about trivial matters. On a different note, Zhuangxian meditated within his cave mansion, the oil lamp on the wall casting light upon the environment. This cave mansion was large, complete with a small lake and a medicine garden, exuding its own special aesthetic. Suddenly, Zhuangxian opened his eyes, exhaling turbid air. Lifting his right hand, he saw his palm was darkened, and his expression turned peculiar. Upon returning to the beginningless, this power calms down. Could it be that it fears the Tao intent within the beginningless? Zhuangxian murmured to himself, recalling that when facing his ancestor, he could feel the mysterious power in his palm extremely nervous, shrinking almost to a point. He had initially been distressed about how to overcome the temptation of this power. Now it seemed as long as he remained within the beginningless, he need not worry about this power. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 804. In the early morning, the sunlight pierced through the earth. Guan, dressed in a close-fitting white robe, walked out of the pavilion, stretching lazily under the bright sun. Today is another day full of hope. Guan sincerely sighed, harboring thoughts of a major breakthrough, an event awaited for millions of years and his happiest day, full of excitement. Even though he tried to remind himself that he was already a person of great power and should not be so excited, he couldn't help it. After thinking about it, which cultivator facing a breakthrough could remain calm? Moreover, compared to others, Guan had more confidence. He even felt that he would surely succeed in breaking through. And with such a mentality, he naturally felt more excited. Xinjun glanced at Guan from in front of the artifact refining cauldron. Without making a sound, she closed her eyes and continued practicing. After strolling in the courtyard for a while, Guan left. He walked into the woods along the mountain path, activating the lifespan breakthrough function as he walked. You have activated the lifespan breakthrough function. Based on your current realm, select the following breakthrough location. 1. Primal Harmony of Chaos. 2. Sea of Descent. 3. Holy Heart Path. 4. Rulai Star. 5. Daoqinglian Tree. 6. Great Dream Lost Realm. 7. Boundless Yin-Yang Inverted Realm. 8. Final End. 9. Demon God Lake. So many new place names. This means that previously common places cannot give birth to existences higher than primordial, profound, venerable, immortal. Guan weighed the options, as some of the place names sounded dangerous. However, the lifespan breakthrough can send him to relatively safe places, at least temporarily, as long as he promptly activates the lifespan barrier. In such a case, Guan wanted to choose the broadest place possible. Search * the novel, F. Iyer. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early, and in the highest quality. Guan's gaze fell on the final end. This place name had appeared before, and the combination of the words final and end made his imagination run wild. Does the Great Tao truly have an end? Is there really an ultimate to the years? Or is it just a name without any significant meaning? The final end should be very vast, right? After much thought, Guan decided to take a look. Transporting to the final end requires consuming 10 billion years of lifespan. Do you wish to continue? Continue. Despite reaching such a level, the transportation cost of lifespan breakthrough remains unchanged, which is quite fair. A long-lost dizziness hit him, making Guan close his eyes. After a while, Guan abruptly opened his eyes. His pupils suddenly contracted. In his sight was a dark red void, endless, with barren stars of all sizes floating around. As far as the eye could see, dark clouds seemed to be swirling at the end of the void. Everything was so oppressive. He immediately activated the lifespan barrier. As the lifespan barrier consumption prompt appeared in front of him, he relaxed. After activating the barrier, he seriously observed the final end. He discovered the Tao spiritual qi surging here was different from the spiritual energy of the heavenly Tao in chaos, filled with an agitating aura, but he had to admit, the Tao spiritual qi here was stronger. He turned around to look in all directions, but he couldn't see the supposed end in any direction. As expected, the final end is just a gimmick. Guan was secretly disappointed. Just then, his gaze fell on a corner of the void. He saw a star slowly condensing, growing larger, resembling a barren meteor, with no vegetation, no vitality. As his gaze concentrated on the star, endless cause and effect scenes poured into his eyes. This star surprisingly symbolized a great thousand world. A world containing millions of small worlds, with countless mortal worlds like Earth. However, such a magnificent great thousand world no longer existed. It was a mark left after destruction. Guan immediately looked at other barren stars. Not only the great thousand worlds, but also powerful Taoist lineages, cosmic planes, Tao domains, etc., were all marks left after being destroyed. He even saw a type of destiny, similar to the destiny of Taoist emperors and primordial Tao emperors. The destiny star conveyed multitude scenes of cause and effect, where countless cultivators pursued this destiny, dominating and spirited, but ultimately fell with its dissipation. This kind of destiny he had never felt on the path of the great Tao, but seeing its peak, it was definitely not comparable to Taoist emperors and primordial Tao emperors. Hongming Venerable. Guan secretly noted the name of this destiny. Perhaps someone still remembered its existence. Now, Guan could understand what the final end was, a place independent of chaos and the heavenly Tao. From here, one couldn't feel the direction of chaos and the heavenly Tao. But whether chaos or the heavenly Tao, the mighty things after extinction left marks here. Guan couldn't understand why the final end formed as it did. The 3,000 Great Taos is just a term. In reality, the Great Taos are innumerable, always with unknown Tao rules existing. But he knew one thing. This place could give birth to existences surpassing the primordial, profound, venerable, immortal. What an unimaginably terrifying existence could be born in such a negative and oppressive place. Guan suddenly felt that the heavenly Tao was small, and even chaos couldn't represent everything. Perhaps the celestial emperor immersing himself in reincarnation wasn't indulgence, but searching for an opportunity to break into a higher realm. Guan took a deep breath, meditating where he was, floating in the void, as if there was invisible land beneath him. First, enhance the physique. Last time upgrading the physique consumed 5 trillion years of lifespan, not seeming much, but compared to last time, it was more than 100-fold increase. If this time also increased 100-fold, it would be 500 trillion years of lifespan. This number was quite terrifying. Guan invested lifespan into the physique, one amount after another. Soon, the investment exceeded 5 trillion years of lifespan. Finally, he spent 1.2 quadrillion years of lifespan, and his physique ascended to the creation essence body. This was already equivalent to his lifespan consumption when he last broke through a great realm. Guan didn't have time to grieve the life-consuming physique upgrade before an unprecedentedly vast creation flooded into his mind. Profound abyss, divine pool. Guan's avatar and Hongyazi walked on the wasteland. He walked ahead, Hongyazi followed behind. Hongyazi held a stone in his hand, like a small knife, inscribed with 2 characters, furrowing his brows in deep thought. Years had passed, and they had yet to escape the predicament. This land seemed endless. Even flying into the sky or digging into the ground was fruitless. Just then, a glow of sunset rushed from behind, swiftly sweeping over the dim celestial vault, brightening the whole world. Hongyazi looked up, seeing the celestial vault not only lit by the glow of sunset, but also appearing in a wave-like distortion. What is this phenomenon? Hongyazi asked. Having adventured with Guan for so long, he had unknowingly developed a dependence on him. Guan looked up, secretly amazed. The creation essence body is indeed formidable, without yet breaking through a great realm, just improving the physique. The phenomenon can be transmitted from the final end to the underworld. His avatar in the hidden spirit palace of the celestial spirit great world opened his eyes, seeing the 3,000 great worlds, and the path of the great Tao experiencing similar phenomena. The glow of sunset illuminating all beings. Such a commotion might alarm the celestial court. Luckily, he broke through at the final end. The heavenly court immortals should not be able to trace it there. Even so, the creation essence body alone was such. What kind of upheaval would his breakthrough to a great realm cause? Guan had a slight worry in his heart. Would it push the celestial emperor out of hiding? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 805, Breakthrough. Perfection of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. Above the sea of clouds, Li Xuanmiao and the celestial destruction god flew side by side. Glancing ahead, seeing many immortal gods flying in the same direction, and the distant celestial vault was flowing with a beautiful glow. Could it be that the dark heavenly court is attacking? Li Xuanmiao asked, raising his eyebrows. In the battle for the Son of Heaven, there were shadows of dark creatures at work. He had fought against dark creatures, and was filled with apprehension towards the dark heavenly court. The dark heavenly court was outside the celestial court, yet the celestial court had not taken action, indicating that they were not confident in dealing with the dark heavenly court. Once the dark heavenly court launched an attack on the celestial court, it would inevitably lead to long-term turmoil. Li Xuanmiao was eager to retreat and become stronger, not wanting to keep fighting. Probably not. The celestial order only asked us to assemble. If the dark heavenly court was attacking, Songtian would take the lead. The celestial destruction god responded, the named Songtian evoking wild thoughts in Li Xuanmiao. He had heard of Songtian for years upon arriving at the celestial court, but never witnessed Kangshan's might. It is said that Songtian is not only the will of the heavenly Tao, but also the celestial court's most powerful weapon, whose heavenly might eradicates countless evil demons. They stopped speaking and continued forward. Soon, they reached the assembly point of the immortal gods, still above the sea of clouds, but this portion was gathered by countless immortal gods. some towering millions of feet tall, others suspended above like divine beasts. Looking around, it was spectacular beyond words, boundless and magnificent. The Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In front of all the immortal gods, the end of the sky presented an illusory scene, seemingly leading to another cosmic plane. Inside was the chaos void, a terrifying black fog quietly surging without approaching the heavenly Tao, encircling the heaven-suppressing endless tower. Li Xuanmiao and the celestial destruction god landed among the immortal gods, secretly astounded, for even the celestial destruction god had never seen so many immortal gods assembled together. The foundation of the celestial court was truly terrifying. After a moment of reflection, Li Xuanmiao turned his gaze to the space-time entrance ahead, feeling uneasy looking at the black fog. It was clear that something extremely dangerous lay within. It seems unrelated to the dark heavenly court. Yes, there are similar glowing anomalies deep within chaos. Could it be an almighty being breaking through? What cultivation level would it take to stir chaos and the heavenly Tao? The immortal servant I left in the underworld told me there are similar phenomena there too. Speaking of which, in recent years, anomalies have been cropping up frequently, not a good omen. If it's about breaking limits, how many powerful beings might have secretly arisen? Why are they hiding? Their intentions must be speculated upon. The immortal gods were discussing among themselves, while Li Xuanmiao quietly listened, picking up a lot of intelligence, including names of many non-celestial court forces. The world outside the celestial court was far vaster than he had imagined. The 3,000 great worlds might not be worth mentioning to the celestial court, because there are many more powerful forces and enigmatic domains worthy of its caution. What exactly will happen? Li Xuanmiao felt tense, his gaze tightly fixed on the chaotic scene far ahead. An hour later, the glow on the celestial vault began to fade, allowing all the immortal gods to breathe a sigh of relief. However, not long after, the celestial vault displayed countless lightning bolts like snakes silently intertwining. At first glance, the vault seemed to fracture instantly, terrifying, causing the recently relaxed immortal gods to tense up again. The previous glow phenomenon, though attracting the attention of beings across realms, did not appear frightening, so the realms remained relatively peaceful. But with the emergence of new anomalies, all living beings were scared. Even the various battlegrounds of the Son of Heaven conflict were disturbed. All forces were investigating the source of the anomaly, especially the celestial court, but to no avail. Final end. Floating in the void, Guan opened his eyes, his left pupil deep red, right pupil silver blue, seemingly harboring two lotus flowers. He exhaled a breath of impure air. His infinite eternal Tao technique had been upgraded to the infinite supreme merging Tao skill, consuming nearly 20 trillion years of lifespan. Tao Qi eternal divine sense was upgraded to the mind-only Tao Qi divine technique, consuming nearly 4 trillion years of lifespan. This was his critical Taoist technique for hiding cultivation level, indispensable, still enhancing his divine soul and Qi blood. The 3,000 slaying Tao swords were upgraded to the no death no life heaven slaying sword, consuming nearly 3 trillion years of lifespan. The great primordial celestial net step was upgraded to the Hongmeng 3,000 steps, consuming nearly 8 trillion years of lifespan. This step technique shifted from shuttle divine power to attack divine power, annihilating a Tao in one step, after 3,000 steps, rendering all Taoist techniques and cultivation of the enemy into nothingness. The great Tao formless body was upgraded to the infinite eternal Tao body, consuming nearly 20 trillion years of lifespan. The demon shadow divine skill had greatly aided Guan, never being abandoned. This divine skill formed a Tao of its own, with endless wondrous methods, enabling someone to attain the Tao. The absolute void I was upgraded to the extreme demon and immortal pupil, consuming the most lifespan, nearly 60 trillion years. These were his main life-consuming Taoist techniques, and he mastered many more techniques that he wouldn't upgrade one by one. Next was the main event, breaking through the great realm. Looking at the current situation where only a small fraction of his total lifespan was consumed, Guan felt fully assured. This time he would break through successfully without any concern. He directly invested 1 trillion years of lifespan into cultivation level, Within the next hour, chaos, the heavenly Tao, and the underworld faced an exceedingly terrifying upheaval, the Tao rules shivering. Nature's spiritual energy turned into a storm, and the minds of all living beings in immortal cultivation were plunged into overwhelming oppression, with a feeling of suffocating pressure. The celestial vaults of all realms kept changing colors. Anomalies appeared one after another. Even bizarre mirage-like scenes occurred, dazzling the eyes. As time passed, all cultivators felt a tremor. The beings within the Taoist field of the beginningless felt better, but they were nonetheless attracted by the constant anomaly mutations in the sky. Within the courtyard, an Xian, celestial demon child, Shenzhen, fairy Yaoxian, and other female cultivators gathered together, while the male cultivators gathered in the distance, discussing the celestial anomaly. The Son of Heaven conflict has just seen a variable, and we now face such anomalies. Shangguan Xianer shook her head, her words sounding like worry, yet her face was full of excited and anticipative expressions. Fairy Yaoxian stood at the edge of the crowd, gazing up at the celestial vault, her brow furrowed. She had spent millions of years adapting to the new era, but faced with such a greatly changing anomaly, she still couldn't see through it. Her intuition told her this anomaly was far more frightening than she imagined. "What are you chatting about?" A gentle laugh came, causing the women to turn their heads. They saw Guan in white clothes entering the courtyard, with his usual smile, instantly dispelling all the unease and tension in their hearts. If Guan was calm, so were they. "Ancestor, what is the reason for this anomaly?" asked the impatient Shangguan Xianer. Guan stopped, looked toward the celestial vault, and said, "This anomaly covers the 3,000 great worlds, envelopes the entire heavenly Tao, chaos too, and even the underworld is mirrored." This remark caused everyone's expression to change drastically. How great a cause and effect must it be? "I don't know either, but with such a vast range, it shouldn't pose a threat to us. If the heavens fell, the celestial court would hold it up." Guan shook his head and smiled. He had already broken through successfully. Unlike before, he had broken through to the perfection realm in one go. But the anomalies of this realm were truly terrifying. Even after his breakthrough ended, they hadn't dispersed, influencing all heavens and myriad realms. At this moment, he had already stepped into a higher tier. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, Perfection Realm. While conversing with everyone, he was also meticulously sensing the changes in himself, genuinely delightful, making it impossible for him to hide his smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 806. Integrating into the Great Tao. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, a transcendent existence surpassing the primordial, profound, venerable, immortal. Just how powerful is this realm? Simply put, in Gu An's eyes, the entire heavenly Tao no longer holds any mystery. Both the past and the future are in his sight. He saw the birth of the heavenly Tao, indeed initiated by a supremely powerful existence. He saw the end of the heavenly Tao, likewise concluded by a supremely powerful being. Not only that, he leaps out of cause and effect, and no one can find his past or future. Even if they visit the past or future of his acquaintances, he remains unseen. In the realm of merging Tao, he can integrate himself into the great Tao, coexisting with and enduring alongside the Tao. How can the Tao perish? In a certain sense, as long as he merges with the Tao, he will not die, which is true longevity and immortality. Even if he just steps into the early stage of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, he transcends everything, eternally carefree. And upon reaching the perfection realm, Guan feels his physical body has become indistinguishable from the Tao. This is an incomparably perfect realm, so powerful that it defies description with words. Indeed, the celestial court is no pushover. I've heard the struggle for the Son of Heaven isn't over yet. Could these anomalies be related to that struggle? Very likely, there is a Son of Heaven sending chaos evil demons into battle, truly resorting to any means. I hope the struggle for the Son of Heaven ends soon. I can't focus on my seclusion, afraid an enemy might invade at any moment. What you say sounds amusing. Do you really need to protect heaven and earth? An Xian, celestial demon child, celestial cyan, and others discussed in the courtyard. With Guan's words present, their mindset became relaxed, even shifting their topic to the struggle for the Son of Heaven. Guan looked up. Though standing in this tiny courtyard, his vision could overlook the entirety of the heavenly Tao. He saw the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor sat at the highest point of the celestial court, and throughout the range of the heavenly Tao, there were more than 10 million reincarnation bodies of his, some distributed in the past, others experiencing the future, with endless insights into the Tao flowing into his true body through cause and effect. In that highest palace, dark and silent, the Celestial Emperor supported his head with his hand, seemingly resting, yet his posture radiated the most terrifying aura, as if nothing could disturb him. Even the phenomena caused by Guan's breakthrough couldn't make him open his eyes. Guan could sense that the Celestial Emperor was also a Supreme Emperor of ultimate merging Tao. His cultivation was no weaker than Guan's, but not vastly stronger either, meaning both were within the same great realm. Besides the Celestial Emperor, within the range of the heavenly Tao, there was no third Supreme Emperor of ultimate merging Tao. However, there were several primordial profound venerable immortals, all hidden deep within the celestial court, likely those few celestial Tao venerables dwelling in areas Guan couldn't previously discern in the celestial court. Celestial Emperor, I've caught up, and I will surpass you. I hope that when we cross paths in the future, my strength will please you. Guan's lips curved upward, his smile radiant. Because of the life of Guxuanyu, he held no hostility toward the Celestial Emperor, even harboring some goodwill, only regarding the Celestial Emperor as an imagined rival to spur his own strength. Shenzhen happened to see Guan's expression, and her eyes shifted slightly, involuntarily showing a smile on her face. This sweeping phenomenon involving chaos and the heavenly Tao lasted for several hours, dissipating only when night fell. The celestial spirit great world returned to tranquility. Yet Guan could see the celestial court was in chaos, with primordial profound venerable immortal realm, celestial Tao venerables hastening to chaos. But this no longer pertained to Guan. After successfully breaking through, he did not go into seclusion but instead repeated his daily routine, experiencing the specific wonders of the Supreme Emperor of ultimate merging Tao in ordinary life. 3 years later, Guan came to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance to visit old acquaintances. He stood before a mountain gate, calling up his attribute panel. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 29,684 for 73/14, 101, 880 574, 623, 609. Physique: Creation Essence Body. Cultivation Level: Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao Realm Perfection. The breakthrough 3 years ago consumed 22 trillion years of his lifespan, leaving only a remainder. Yet this remainder still represented an immensely vast number in lifespan. Guan could feel that the next great realm he wished to reach would be far more difficult than before, fearing that 100-fold, 1,000-fold lifespan would be severely inadequate. This intuition was strong, almost certainly true, and this was the strength of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. All sensations were prophecies, a prejudgment of the 3,000 great Tao. Guan contemplated higher realms while looking at his attribute panel. His location was mid-mountain, before him a majestic stone gate, and behind him lay vast and magnificent hills and rivers. At first glance, this seemed not like an immortal cultivation sect but rather a place remote from the mundane world. Suddenly, ripples appeared within the stone gate ahead, like a watery surface, and a human silhouette emerged. A young male disciple approached Guan, glanced at him suspiciously and spoke. "My ancestor wishes to see you, please follow me in." In the young disciple's eyes, Guan was indeed astonishingly handsome. Yet by his aura, he seemed but an ordinary celestial and earthly immortal. How could such a cultivation merit a personal audience with his ancestor? Though full of confusion, he dared not be careless. Guan smiled with a nod, then followed him through the stone gate. Passing through the gate, the heavens abruptly changed before him. The mountain ranges continued, yet each peak housed pavilions, palaces, pagodas, and every mountaintop shone with rays of light, akin to an immortal land. Under the guidance of the young disciple, Guan flew toward the most majestic giant mountain. Along the way, Passing disciples greeted the young disciple, clearly indicating his esteemed status in this little world. After a while, the two landed before a palace at the mountain's summit, where the heavens were not seen overhead, but instead, a vast starry sky. Our ancestor is inside. You may enter on your own. The young disciple gestured with his hand, and Guan nodded, then opened the palace doors and walked in. Once the doors closed, the young disciple withdrew his gaze, turned, and flew down the mountain, his mind pondering the origins of Guan. Could this person be a descendant of the ancestor? Inside the palace, the sight was bright, spirit mist drifted along the ground. As Guan walked, he glanced at the stone pillars along the path, and began to chant. Qi cultivation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, divinity transformation, void crossing, fusion, Xuanxin Mahayana, nirvana, loose immortal, wandering immortal, celestial and earthly immortals, carefree primordial immortal, divine immortal of wondrous dharma, Tao void profound immortal, divine thought true immortal, free immortal, Taoist Zongzizai immortal, profound Yuan free immortal, heaven encompassing free immortal, innate golden immortal. CTH Novelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Gu An's voice echoed within the hall, and upon finishing, he looked ahead and grinned. For realms beyond innate golden immortal, do you need me to inscribe them on the pillar? Following his gaze, a figure stood atop distant steps. It was Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu had her hands behind her, fixing her gaze on Guan. She calmly spoke. With your capability, you could have come directly, yet you had me send someone to invite you. It seems you relish pretending to be weak. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 807. Vast disparity. What do you mean pretending to be weak? If I do not participate in worldly causes and effects, whether I am strong or weak, what does it matter? Guan walked toward Ji Xiaoyu, smiling as he replied. Ji Xiaoyu was dressed in a luxurious purple robe, exuding an aura of noble and transcendent beauty, possessing both the elegance of a fairy and the powerful presence of someone in authority. Upon hearing Gu An's words, she slightly pursed her lips and said, such an arrogant tone. She stepped down the stairs, continuing, if you wish to speak, I won't refuse. Coincidentally, I want to learn more about the realms beyond the innate golden immortal. Guan laughed. The golden immortal Tao fruit is also divided into 3 layers. Innate golden immortal, heaven balancing golden immortal, and Taiqing golden immortal. The celestial gods guarding the 3,000 great worlds often have cultivation levels around the heaven balancing golden immortal realm. As he spoke, he took out the fate pen and casually swept it, adding the names of 2 realms, heaven balancing golden immortal and Taiqing golden immortal, to the foremost stone pillars. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu squinted her eyes and asked, what is your realm? Guan smiled but remained silent. Judging by your demeanor, is your realm higher than Taiqing golden immortal? Ji Xiaoyu snorted. When she saw that Gu An's smile didn't change, she was secretly startled. She had thought Guan was just a Taiqing golden immortal. This guy, although Ji Xiaoyu was surprised considering Gu An's few interventions, even on the path of the great Tao, none could compare. Surpassing Taiqing golden immortal equates to surpassing the power of most celestial gods, which is reasonable upon reflection. Though understanding is one thing, realizing that Guan surpassed Taiqing golden immortal, she still felt bewildered. Guan listened to her inner thoughts, secretly thinking, indeed, I am above Taiqing golden immortal, with 5 realms in between. He arrived in front of Ji Xiaoyu, glanced around and asked, do you usually reside here in seclusion? Yes, the factions of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance are complex. I don't want to get involved in too many causes and effects, so I seldom venture out. Ji Xiaoyu replied, currently still in the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, just a step away from the innate golden immortal, but unable to break through that step. Sar the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She wasn't in a hurry since those who can achieve innate golden immortal have lived for a long time. Her age compared to these great powers is still far behind. Yet, with Gu An's arrival, she felt a sense of urgency. Continuing like this, she might soon give up her determination to pursue Guan. Guan looked at her and said, "Going out occasionally is beneficial, aiding enlightenment. The Tao is not entirely found through secluded hard practice alone. The existence of the reincarnation tribulation is to guide beings toward the Tao. You can also visit the Taoist field of the beginningless sometimes. The nine-spirit continent has become quite lively these days." Listening to Gu An's words, Ji Xiaoyu gazed fixedly at him. Their eyes met, both without any fluctuations. "When I headed to outer heaven, I thought it would be a farewell to you, but in the end I returned. When pursuing the Taoist emperor along the path of the great Tao, I thought for the second time would be separated forever. Now, am entirely rooted in the celestial spirit great world, seemingly unable to sever our ties for eternity." Ji Xiaoyu spoke in a calm tone, causing Guan to raise his eyebrows. "What? Do you hold a grudge against me? If you really wish for eternal separation, I simply won't come anymore," Guan said helplessly. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu's eyes showed subtle changes. She replied, "I just don't want to burden you, and pursuing the great Tao must rely on oneself, at least that's how I view it." Guan understood her true thoughts, which was why he didn't get angry. He said wryly, "According to your view, do you wish to remain forever alone?" Ji Xiaoyu paused in silence, then asked, "Is there anything I can do for you? Why don't you show me around? I find this place quite interesting," Guan said with a gentle smile. Ji Xiaoyu didn't reject the idea. She nodded slightly, then began to lead the way, walking in front of Guan, who followed closely. Walking ahead of Guan, her lips slightly upturned but quickly returned to normal. Thus, Guan followed Ji Xiaoyu around her dojo. To avoid suspicion, Ji Xiaoyu donned a hat and a veil. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. On this day, Ji Xiaoyu escorted Guan to the mountain gate. As the formation at the gate closed, only the two of them remained on the cliff. Guan turned toward Ji Xiaoyu and said, "If you encounter immortal fate in the future, do not accept it." Ji Xiaoyu asked why. She didn't think Guan simply didn't want her to leave. There must be a special reason, perhaps the reason he came to find her. In her view, Guan couldn't have come merely for leisure, because it will be a trap. If you wish to ascend to immortality, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future, and he'll tell you when. Guan responded. This made Ji Xiaoyu's gaze toward him filled with deep meaning. She was curious about just how far Gu An's eyes could see into the future. Guan continued, "Since you want to become an innate golden immortal, I will assist you in achieving it." As he finished speaking, Guan suddenly waved his sleeve, and a gentle breeze blew toward Ji Xiaoyu, lifting her hat, revealing astonishment on her cool and beautiful face. She stood frozen in place, regaining consciousness only after several breaths. By the time she returned to awareness, Gu An's presence was gone, and she widened her eyes in shock, discovering her Tao fruit had transformed, with unfamiliar energy surging within. Soon, she realized she had achieved the innate golden immortal realm. No celestial tribulation. Directly transformed into it. She instinctively thought she was dreaming, yet she couldn't find Gu An's figure anymore. She immediately entered the stone gate to confirm she was in the real world. Meanwhile, Guan arrived at the Xiao family city to find Xiaolan, roaming the streets and sensing Ji Xiaoyu's changes. This was the strength of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, able to forcibly elevate others' realms without any drawbacks. The reason there's no need to cross the tribulation is that he used his Tao intent. Now Ji Xiaoyu just needs to slowly adapt to the new realm's transformation to completely become an innate golden immortal. Guan couldn't help but think of the celestial court, whose destiny could rapidly strengthen mortal spirits without any side effects. Isn't this the ability of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao? Could it be that all heavenly court immortals were promoted by the Celestial Emperor? If so, it makes sense. The Celestial Emperor wouldn't fear the immortals' rebellion, nor fear the Son of Heaven growing powerful, as the immortal's strength derives from him. To create so many heavenly court immortals, the Celestial Emperor's cultivation level is indeed terrifying. However, the celestial emperor hasn't exposed this point, instead allowing Sangtian and the heavenly Tao to substitute for his function. Guan wasn't planning to forcefully help disciples break through realms unless they hit a limit. Even when assisting those around him, Guan won't reveal the intricate wonders of it, as they are simply too unbelievable. Moreover, for the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, having more subordinates is pointless. No matter how many strong people are under the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, combined, they can't rival him. Moreover, he and the Celestial Emperor stand in the Perfection Realm. On the Heavenly Daos scope, there are only 2 Supreme Emperors of Ultimate Merging Tao, both in the Perfection Realm, and their gap with all beings is astoundingly vast. Why do I suddenly relate to the Celestial Emperor's arrogance? Guan chuckled, shaking his head. He felt this mindset was unacceptable, just as the Celestial Emperor couldn't foresee him rising unknowingly. Perhaps another Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao might emerge in the future without either him or the Celestial Emperor realizing. No matter what, he must never be conceited. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 808. Another side of the Patriarch. The passage of time resembles a spinning wheel and is as merciless as flowing water, erasing worldly grudges, disasters, and happiness. Regardless of good or bad, all will pass before the sands of time. The contest for the title of Son of Heaven is no exception, and its progress is accelerating. After 3 million years, the 3,000 great worlds have all fallen under Xianyuan human venerables' dominion, bringing peace to various realms. Following a great calamity, these realms enter a new era, receiving blessings from the heavenly Tao, with all things reborn. While the 3,000 great worlds are rejoicing, the contest for the title of Son of Heaven still has one crucial final battle. The celestial spirit great world remains in peace, yet the number of little worlds from outer heaven is increasing. Ji Xiaoyu's attainment of innate golden immortal status has not been spread widely. She chooses to hide her cultivation level, continuing to pretend as the heaven-encompassing free immortal, and uses her unique qi concealment technique. This year as spring begins, and Zizai takes Zhuang Xian into the bamboo forest to find Guan. This bamboo grove has become Guan's exclusive domain, where others dare not tread lightly. After many years, Zhuang Xian has become a free immortal, and is now pursuing the path of primordial Tao Emperor. He wears a black shirt and white robe, with his long hair bound at the top by 2 bamboo hairpins, his expression solemn, embodying the aura of a seasoned sage. Coming before Guan, the 2 respectfully salute Guan. You may return first. Guan tells Zizai, who upon hearing this, can only suppress his curiosity and turn to leave. Facing the ancestor alone, Zhuang Xian, who usually fears neither heaven nor earth, now feels somewhat nervous, his breath becoming unsteady. Guan sits on the steps in front of the pavilion. He gestures for Zhuang Xian to sit on the ground, and Zhuang Xian promptly complies. I called you here because I intend to personally teach you. Do you know why I am willing to instruct you? Guan asks, as he toys with the 7-star mirror, once the immortal path ultimate treasure of the 7-star spirit realm, now transformed into a Tao treasure, containing the power to suppress a side of the great thousand world. Zhuang Xian replies, is it because of Ancestor? He would not arrogantly believe that it is due to his own character that the ancestor appreciates him. Presently, there are countless Wushiji disciples, many with remarkable talent, yet none have seen the ancestor instruct anyone. Guan laughs. He is just one reason. It's also because of your master. Let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone, including your master. Zhuang Xian becomes intrigued and quickly agrees. Guan begins to narrate tales from his time at the Supreme Sect, focusing on his interactions with LV Baitian, soon captivating Zhuang Xian, immersing him in the story. He seems transported into the tale, witnessing Guan and LV Baitian, who has transformed into Elder Tian, walking and chatting in the medicine garden. Zhuang Xian had heard many stories about the ancestor before, but those were mostly legends of the ancestor saving the world. Hearing a simple story of the ancestor interacting with others was a first. Very simple, yet full of flavor, calming his spirit. Hearing about LV Batian restoring his identity, always wanting to pass his cultivation level to Guan and urging him to become the sect leader, causes Zhuang Xian to smile involuntarily. Once Guan finishes speaking, he himself drifts into reminiscence. Zhuang Xian asks, "Ancestor, is my master a descendant of Senior LV Batian?" The ancestor indeed seems to be someone who cherishes old friendships. Guan glances at him, smiling. No, he is the reincarnation of LV Batian. The cultivation technique I imparted to him was once taught to me by his prior incarnation. Zhuang Xian widens his eyes with an expression of disbelief. To him, the tales of Guan and LV Batian should stem from an unfathomably distant past, so far back that it transcends thousands, tens of thousands of reincarnation cycles. Given such reincarnation, it's seemingly impossible to find a familiar face. Guan continues, I am indifferent to your cultivation achievements, nor concerned about how many you may aid in the future. As long as you do not commit evil, do not harm fellow disciples, even if you accomplish nothing, I will not expel you from Wuxia. Presently, I pass the cultivation technique to you in consideration of your master. I hope you can become your master's pride, as his former incarnation always aspired to nurture an exceptional disciple. Zhuang Xian listens attentively, pondering for a moment before solemnly nodding his head. He doesn't feel disappointed by this. Instead, he finds the ancestor magnanimous and sincere, expressing a swaggering boldness that fears no change. He also hopes to become such a person. Guan raises his hand and sends out the 7-star mirror. The mirror floats in midair, the surface reflecting a beam of white light, which reveals a scene of the dark void within. Let's watch a battle first. Guan says with a smile, and with a gesture from his right hand, a wine jug from the pavilion flies into his hand. A battle? Curious, Zhuang Xian's gaze turns to the dark void ahead, witnessing two figures approaching each other. Who are they? Zhuang Xian cannot resist asking. Guan responds, Sons of Heaven, the two who plunged the 3,000 great worlds into a millennium-long catastrophe. They are about to have their final showdown. Sons of Heaven. Zhuang Xian's eyes widen, turning to Guan with an expression of disbelief. The current celestial spirit great world has already formed links with the 3,000 great worlds, coupled with the presence of the 10,000 realms gate. So Zhuang Xian is aware of the battle for the title of Son of Heaven. Such a narrative feels incredibly distant to him. In his mind, the celestial court even seems to be above the beginningless realm. Within the beginningless, no one can compare to the Son of Heaven. The ancestor can, astonishingly, glimpse the Sons of Heaven's duel from within the dojo. And the two Sons of Heaven are completely unaware. What kind of technique is this? What kind of cultivation level could achieve this? Zhuang Xian is both shocked and thrilled. Disciples have always known the ancestor is powerful, but the true extent of that power remains unseen to all. Today the ancestor's demonstration, though not earth-shattering, has shattered his perception. Watching the ancestor's serene and tranquil smile, Zhuang Xian's thoughts swirl. At this moment, a booming sound emanates from the strong light of the 7-star mirror, capturing his attention. He sees the two Sons of Heaven already engaged in battle. The scene instantly pulls back, yet even so, the mana of both Sons of Heaven fills the entire view. Occasionally, he sees the two Sons of Heaven grow in size, battling with Dharma aspect, then shrink, with the scene changing to appear in other universes, the battle moving so rapidly that he daren't blink. Although indistinct, he senses the two Sons of Heaven's terrifying strength. Ping! The sound of the mirror shattering reaches him. Zhuang Xian watches the scene, feeling as if the universe was being smashed apart, with the dark void quickly turning into an intense red. 9 Heaven's true dragon Qi. Father Emperor indeed dotes on you. Xianyuan Human Venerable's voice rings out, icy cold. SE of the novel, F. Ire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Another voice accompanies it. That's because my aptitude is sufficient for cultivation. Though we are both Sons of Heaven, the disparity in talent is truly present. Following this, Zhuang Xian sees dragons appearing out of thin air, relentlessly attacking each other, half golden, half black, seemingly two hordes of dragons locked in battle. Each enormous, with stars beside them akin to grains of sand. How do you also possess 9 heavens true dragon chi? Great immortal divine Yuan's voice sounds again, laden with shock and anger. You're right. There is indeed a talent gap between us. Xianyuan human venerable replies with contempt. Guan watches their 9 heavens true dragon chi, his thoughts drifting. He recalls the final battle between Guxuanyu and Taihao, where they too wielded 9 heavens true dragon chi. Yet compared to them, Xianyuan human venerable and great immortal divine Yuan's 9 heavens true dragon chi pales in significance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 809. 10 Immortal positions. The battle between the great immortal divine Yuan and Xianyuan human venerable ultimately ended with Xianyuan human venerable emerging victorious, reducing the great immortal divine Yuan to ashes, with no chance of resurrection for another fight. Afterward, Xianyuan human venerable stood alone in the shattered void, gazing upward as if looking at the mysterious and elusive Tsangtian. This battle of the Son of Heaven lasted a full day and night, which was relatively short for their realm, and Zhuang Xian watched with great interest. Although most of the time he couldn't see the details of the battle between the two Sons of Heaven, he still watched with relish, as if witnessing the evolution of a myth. Guan put away the 7-star mirror, causing the image suspended before them to dissipate. He stood up and stretched lazily. Zhuang Xian quickly got up, nervously looking at Guan. Is it time to cultivate? He was both eager and nervous to be personally taught by the ancestor. He feared disappointing the ancestor because he had never been the most insightful in his generation. His talent often seemed mediocre compared to his peers. Guan looked at Zhuang Xian and smiled, saying, I will only teach once. How much you can comprehend depends entirely on your fortune. These words made Zhuang Xian even more nervous, and he could only nod cautiously. Sunlight streamed through the bamboo forest, falling upon the two, imparting a sense of harmony and the beauty of tranquil times. The battle of the Son of Heaven has ended. For the all-living beings across all realms, once their great world is no longer plagued by evil demons, the battle is over. But for the sects across the realms, the real highlight is after Xianyuan human venerable's victory. Will the Son of Heaven fulfill his promise? Do they have a chance to ascend to immortality? Sar the novel_fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ultimately, Xianyuan human venerable did not disappoint, choosing a group of meritorious great cultivators to go to the celestial court, and sending Sichuan old immortal to travel across the 3,000 great worlds to reward deeds according to merit. About 1,000 years have passed since the battle of the Son of Heaven. In late summer that year, Xianyuan human venerable, accompanied by Sichuan old immortal, came to visit Guan. Guan sent Zizai to receive them, and they met again at the mountain viewing pavilion. Before leaving, Zizai couldn't help but glance at Xianyuan human venerable one more time. This person was the Son of Heaven. He speculated internally. The battle of the Son of Heaven has ended, so why does the Son of Heaven come to visit the ancestor? Did the ancestor play a crucial role in the battle? Zizai suddenly thought of a legend he heard not long ago about a divine sparrow with colorful rays at its tail and sweeping across the 3,000 great worlds, exterminating countless evil demons, thus changing the course of the battle of the Son of Heaven. With a heart full of confusion he left, not daring to disturb Guan's conversation with the other two. After he departed, Xianyuan human venerable respectfully bowed to Guan, raising his hand in salute, appearing much more humble than during his last visit. Sichuan old immortal followed suit, looking at Guan with gratitude and awe. When he sought Guan's assistance, he dreamed that Guan could help Xianyuan human venerable, but he never expected that Guan could single-handedly change the tide, even against the Dao extreme Daoyuo immortal of the celestial court. Incredibly, Guan himself did not appear in person, simply relying on a divine sparrow to change the dynamics. Sit down and let's chat. Guan smiled as he waved his right hand. A formless force lifted the hands of the two immortals, prompting them to straighten their posture. Then they followed Guan to take their seats. Xianyuan human venerable looked at Guan and asked, Could I possibly see that divine sparrow? Sichuan old immortal took the initiative to pick up the teapot on the table to pour tea for Guan. And upon hearing Xianyuan Human Venerable's request, he too looked at Guan expectantly. Guan smiled, raised his right hand, and immediately, a colorful light flew from outside the pavilion, swiftly landing on his arm. As the radiance faded, the figure of the Wusher divine sparrow emerged. It appeared similar in size to a chicken, although majestic. Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal could not quite reconcile this with the image of a divine sparrow that traversed the 3,000 great worlds. What is the origin of such a spiritual entity? Asked Sichuan Old Immortal curiously. The Wusher divine sparrow perched on Guan's arm, shaking its head as if dazed, but considering it was able to repel the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal, despite feeling shocked, Sichuan Old Immortal dared not underestimate it. Guan stroked the head of the Wusher divine sparrow and smiled. It has no grand origins. It has just been cultivating by my side. These words made Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal feel a surge of awe. Simply staying by his side can achieve the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal Realm? What audacious language! Even in the celestial court, it's not about having enough time for cultivation to reach the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal level. To achieve the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal requires immeasurable merit, and Xianyuan Human Venerable dared not imagine himself achieving the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal yet. Guan slightly raised his right hand, prompting the Wusher divine sparrow to fly away. What are your reasons for coming here? Guan asked. Guan was very satisfied with Xianyuan Human Venerable's actions after his victory. At least he did not deceive the all-living beings, and with victory, there truly was a chance for immortality. Furthermore, the 3,000 great worlds did not perish and be recreated, which indicated Xianyuan Human Venerable exerted his influence on the celestial court. Xianyuan Human Venerable said, "Ancestor, your assistance was immeasurable. I had to come to express my gratitude. I am willing to offer you 10 immortal ascension slots. How about that?" 10 immortal ascension slots. Guan couldn't help but feel amazed. No wonder Tai Immortal Monarch was so committed to supporting the Son of Heaven. Relationships are truly important. How many years would it take for the 3,000 great worlds to birth an immortal god? Xianyuan Human Venerable effortlessly offered 10 slots. And Guan could sense that these 10 slots were not just ordinary celestial god positions, but Star Monarch immortal positions. You have already given me the Heavenly Dao Emperor Jade. That's enough. Guan shook his head and smiled. Xianyuan Human Venerable replied sternly. The Heavenly Dao Emperor Jade was to request your assistance, but now I am talking about the reward after victory, which is what I should give. Yes, Ancestor, if you can't decide now, you can accept them first and later give the opportunity to whichever disciple wishes to ascend to immortality. Sichuan Old Immortal chimed in. Xianyuan Human Venerable waved his sleeve, and 10 green jade long sticks appeared on the table, each engraved with the word Star Monarch. Guan no longer refused and asked, "Your Highness, how will you treat the 3,000 great worlds in the future?" Xianyuan Human Venerable was secretly astonished. How did the ancestor know he could rule the 3,000 great worlds? This was a reward he received from Songtian not long ago, effectively enabling him to oversee 3,000 celestial gods, along with many immortals and gods who prioritized the 3,000 great worlds to serve him, greatly expanding his power. Of course, he was merely astonished and did not ponder too much, considering the ancestor's cultivation level. Deducing this was not impossible. Xianyuan Human Venerable began to describe his plans, believing the 3,000 great worlds held great potential, and intended to develop them well, making them a significant part of the Heavenly Dao, heralding unprecedented fortune, and marching towards a grander era. The three chatted for a long time, mostly with Guan listening, while Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal observed his expression, afraid he might be dissatisfied. Xianyuan Human Venerable indeed had faith in the 3,000 great worlds, but most importantly he wanted to enlist Guan's support. Having Guan in the 3,000 great worlds was of extraordinary significance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 810. Son of Heaven Ji Yan. If it is truly so, then His Highness will surely become a revered immortal god among all beings and reshape the image of immortal gods in the hearts of all living beings. Guan looked at Xianyuan Human Venerable, speaking with admiration, which prompted Xianyuan Human Venerable to smile. Sichuan Old Immortal laughed and said, His Highness has always had the ideal of restoring the celestial court's virtues. After this victory, Kangshan's reward for His Highness far exceeds expectations, indicating that even the heavenly Tao supports His Highness' ideal. When talking about this matter, his tone was somewhat excited. Clearly the outcome of this Son of Heaven conflict differed from his expectations, further exciting him. Xianyuan Human Venerable showed a smile, feeling joyous. To receive approval from such an extraordinary great power as Ancestor Master Wuxia proves that the path he steadfastly follows is correct. The three continued chatting for a while longer. Then Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal did not linger further. Although they had stayed for an hour, they felt greatly rewarded. At least they had the hope of winning Ancestor Master Wuxi's favor. By the way, what impression do you have of Son of Heaven Jieyan? Guan suddenly asked, causing the two immortals who were about to leave to halt, looking at Guan with surprise. Sichuan Old Immortal was the first to ask, Master Ancestor, why are you inquiring about him? Search the Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Mentioning Son of Heaven Jieyan, Sichuan Old Immortal's expression became unnatural, and even Xianyuan Human Venerable furrowed his brow. Guan maintained a smile and said softly, Oh, nothing in particular, just curious to understand. Sichuan Old Immortal glanced at Xianyuan Human Venerable, then said, This Son of Heaven's celestial rank is quite high. His cultivation level is on par with some celestial Tao venerables. His Son of Heaven number can be ranked in the top 100. He once won the Son of Heaven battle, later lost, and since then has devoted himself to retreat, showing himself rarely. Yet over the long years, the immortal gods under his command continue cultivating new immortal gods. Overall, this Son of Heaven is not one to provoke lightly. His mention of not to provoke was a subtle warning to Guan not to antagonize Son of Heaven Jieyan. Even though Guan had already displayed strength not fearing Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal, he still hoped Guan would not provoke Son of Heaven Jieyan. Xianyuan Human Venerable did not speak, but it was clear he was very apprehensive of Son of Heaven Jieyan. Guan said with a laugh, Do not worry, I have no feud with him. It's just that I happened to see him about to do some things. Alright, you may go now. Sichuan Old Immortal was puzzled upon hearing this, wishing to ask what matter it was but dared not get entangled in the cause and effect of Son of Heaven Jieyan. Xianyuan Human Venerable looked at Guan and asked, What he intends, does it relate to the 3,000 great worlds? Guan did not reply, but merely looked at the teacup on the table. Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal instantly understood. Their expressions turned grim. They asked no more and left politely. The two immortals left Wuxia and directly moved to the world gate. Xianyuan Human Venerable's face was livid, his eyes fiery, causing the celestial spirit god guarding the world gate to hurry to his feet. Your Highness, do not be reckless. Sichuan Old Immortal quickly advised, having guessed what Xianyuan Human Venerable intended. Xianyuan Human Venerable said without turning around, I understand. I am merely angry and will not give him any chance. Passing by the celestial spirit god, he paused, turning to look at the celestial spirit god. His expression softened and said, Serve Ancestor Master Wuxia well in the future. Whatever happens, if you need to find me, just call my name at the world gate and I will hear it. Celestial spirit god was flattered, promptly agreeing. After that, Xianyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal stepped into the world gate one after another. When the intense light of the world gate dissipated, only then did the celestial spirit god breathe a sigh of relief, his face breaking into a smile. The path becomes ever smoother. Being a celestial god, serving a great power outside the celestial court was once considered fundamentally rebellious behavior, but now, many high-ranking immortal gods support him in doing so. The celestial spirit god resumed his meditation, his gaze towards the distance. His mind drifted to Tian Hao. He wondered if that boy had ascended to immortality, and what immortal position he held. Meanwhile, Guan walked out of the mountain viewing pavilion, proceeding along the mountain path, leisurely strolling through the wilderness, contemplating the future. In a distant future, Son of Heaven Jia Yen will reincarnate to the mortal realm, achieve supreme status in the celestial spirit great world, and commence a war for dominion over the 3,000 great worlds. This destiny emerged after Xianyuan Human Venerable One, clearly indicating that Son of Heaven Jia Yen was targeting Xianyuan Human Venerable. Guan had previously warned Ji Xiaoyu not to trust a mortal fate, precisely because she would encounter Son of Heaven Jia Yen in the future. This Son of Heaven Jia Yan's cultivation level is quite formidable, having reached perfect Taoist Great Luo Immortal Realm. Yet regrettably, such a level holds no secrets to Guan. It made Guan feel relieved that when he achieved Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal, he did not act recklessly. Had he indiscriminately killed and crazily accumulated lifespan, he surely would have been targeted by Xianqi Primordial Immortal and Mixed Element Profound Venerable Immortal. There are always those who take the lead role in this world, but staying here and watching the drama is more enjoyable. Guan murmured, with no one beside him to know what he meant. He prepared to assess Zhuang Xian's cultivation achievements. Though he said it was to see Zhuang Xian's own fortune, after millions of years, it was his first time teaching someone cultivation, and could not let Zhuang Xian be too poor. Celestial Court, Guangfa Immortal Palace. In the Grand Hall, hundreds of immortal gods sat cross-legged on their respective mats, Li Xuanmiao and Celestial Destruction God among them. The two seated next to each other. The venerable Guangfa Taiguang had not yet appeared, and the disciples of Guangfa Immortal Palace chatted about the Son of Heaven conflict. Didn't expect Xianyuan Human Venerable to turn the tide, truly surprised me. Indeed, Taisian Divine Yuan almost won, yet it could be overturned. Who knows what has happened within the 3,000 great world? It is said Xianyuan Human Venerable invited a supreme great power to intervene. I heard too that Taisian Divine Yuan invited a supreme immortal to act, but was not the rival, which might be why Xianyuan Human Venerable was conferred as Great Thousand World Immortal King. Xianyuan Human Venerable introduced hundreds of immortal gods at once, and Songtian permitted them, likely leading to more sons of heaven engaging in such conflicts in the future. Listening to the immortal gods' discussions around him, Li Xuanmiao felt that this situation was connected to his master. If there was a major variable in the 3,000 great worlds, it could only be his master. That Taisian Divine Yuan acted unscrupulously, worrying him about the celestial spirit great world. Also fearing Guan would become an enemy of the celestial court to protect the celestial spirit great world. Celestial Destruction God spoke. The Son of Heaven conflict causing such a significant impact might be some sort of signal. Li Xuanmiao turned to look at him, curiously asking, "What kind of signal?" Celestial Destruction God did not answer, but said, "They say both sons of heaven displayed 9 heavens true dragon Qi." What is 9 heavens true dragon Qi? It is the Emperor of Heaven's divine skills, with abnormally domineering power to suppress the heavenly Tao. Celestial Destruction God's answer changed Li Xuanmiao's expression significantly. 2 sons of heaven with the Emperor of Heaven's true inheritance competing, and Songtian offering unprecedented merit rewards, indeed extraordinary. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:11. Duga Demon Emperor. As Li Xuanmiao pondered Kangshan's will, a golden light appeared on the steps ahead. As the golden light dissipated, Venerable Guangfa Taiguang appeared on the lotus throne and sat down. His imposing figure appeared, and all the immortal gods in the hall stood up and bowed to him. Venerable Guangfa Taiguang nodded slightly, raised his hand and pressed down, indicating for all the immortal gods to sit. Once all the immortal gods were seated and looking at him, he spoke. Today's lecture will discuss the immortal gods, and we shall talk about what it means to be an immortal, what it means to be a god, and what the order of the heavenly Tao should be. I hope you will find your own path in comprehending the heavenly Tao, and no matter the outcome, do not regret. On hearing this, the immortal gods sat upright, knowing that this lecture was connected to the dispute for the title of Son of Heaven, a matter of great interest to them. Such a significant event rarely occurs in the celestial court over the long eras, as no one within the heavenly Tao can shake its foundation. The white-haired elder in the first row spoke first. This humble Taoist believes that immortal gods should focus on destiny. Relying on it means relying on all beings of heaven and earth. Thus, immortal gods should primarily protect all beings. His status was evidently high, as he was the first to speak, and the other immortal gods listened intently. After he finished speaking, an immortal god quickly rebutted. An immortal is an immortal. Mortal spirits cultivate to become immortals, enduring hardships. Yet after becoming immortals, they still weigh mortal spirits heavily. What is the meaning of our immortal cultivation? Immortals should keep their distance from mortal spirits. This itself is a protection. In fact, even if we do nothing, mortal spirits will still worship us, so there's no need to curry favor for the sake of destiny. His argument won the approval of many immortal gods, most of whom were from the mortal world, having faced trials themselves. They knew the dangers of human hearts, and inherently detested the machinations and disputes of mortal spirits. Suddenly, the immortal gods split into two factions and began debating. It was difficult for anyone to propose a third view without being dragged into the conflict between immortals and mortals. Li Xuanmiao remained silent, observing the attitudes of the immortal gods. Though he could understand some immortal gods' extreme comments, he always felt that immortal gods should protect mortal spirits. What's called an immortal god doesn't really rely on their own cultivation, but on the heavenly court's destiny to achieve immortality. Since the heavenly court requires the faith of all beings, immortal gods should inherently have the responsibility to protect mortal spirits. At least, that's what Li Xuanmiao believes. Venerable Guangfa Taiguang did not speak. He listened quietly. With him presiding over the court, the immortal gods had disputes but maintained order without devolving into chaos. CTH Novelfire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was also listening to the lecture. After reaching the level of Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, the celestial court seemed less mysterious to Guan, who often spied on it. Since Li Xuanmiao was listening to the Tao, Guan decided to eavesdrop too. Observing the celestial court over the years, Guan discovered an intriguing phenomenon. Supreme Immortal and Celestial Tao Venerable often have compassion for all beings, whereas Celestial God, Star Monarch, Main Deity, Immortal Monarch are more disdainful of them. The former did not originate from the mortal realm, while the latter mostly fought their way out of the mortal realm, only to scorn its beings, a truly ironic fact. While Guan was enjoying what he heard, an Exian appeared in the courtyard. She came to the tree and looked at Guan lying in the rocking chair, asking, "Master, I have something to ask you." She glanced at Shenzhen hesitant. "Just speak," Guan replied casually. An Exian immediately asked, "Has the owner of those eyes left?" "Yes, captured by immortal gods to the celestial court." "What? Why?" "No reason. The celestial court doesn't tolerate those eyes." Gu An's answer made an Exian frown and caught Shenzhen's attention. An Exian thought of Gu An's warnings to her, feeling heavy-hearted, even though those immortal emperor's eyes were intimidating. Yet thinking that such a powerful entity was apprehended by the celestial court, she felt akin to empathy. She stopped asking, bowed to Guan, then left. Although Shenzhen was curious, she didn't ask more and continued her cultivation. Guan also didn't discuss the immortal emperor's eye with her. He had no intention of rescuing the owner of those eyes, as there was no cause and effect connection. That owner of the immortal emperor's eye was already imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Guan was familiar with that prison because Profound Abyss had spent a long time there, where only beings of great power were detained. Speaking of it, when Profound Abyss escaped from the prison, the fierce demon who caused chaos in the celestial court was still trapped inside. After countless ages, that demon's demon chi had dissipated, yet his body and soul persisted, enduring daily the torment of celestial fire. Xian Qi Primordial Immortal Cultivation Level. Guan discerned his origin, named Duga Demon Emperor, with half-immortal blood in his veins. His father was a celestial Tao Venerable, hence the celestial court hadn't completely exterminated him. The prisoners in the heavenly prison mostly had intricate connections with the celestial court. Those without any connections were directly obliterated by the celestial court. The same applied to the owner of the immortal emperor's eye. His eyes weren't naturally born but transplanted by a celestial court great power, attempting to refine those eyes through his body. Nowadays, Guan found it amusing to observe the complex web of cause and effect within the celestial court, like following a drama or watching a movie, not dull at all. To all beings, the celestial court appears ethereal. Even free immortals struggle to reach them. Yet every move they make can affect the destiny of all heavens and myriad realms. Guan got up, intending to take a look around the Nine-Spirit Dynasty, while listening to the lecture from Guangfa Immortal Palace. Shenzhen did not follow him. She was solely focused on asking the Tao and reaching the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm sooner. Now the second-generation disciples of the beginning list had a minimum cultivation level of profound Yuan free immortal, but hadn't yet birthed any innate golden immortal. Time flows endlessly, as a day passes like a page in the annals of time. After Xianyuan human venerable triumphed, legends of immortal gods proliferated across the human world, and opportunities to ascend to immortality began to spread throughout it. Millions of years later, immortality became the highest goal for the cultivation of the multitudes. That year, on the Taitsong continent, within the ancient Supreme Sect, a young figure arrived on the heaven-repairing platform representing the highest legacy on that land. This youth wore black clothes, had handsome features, and appeared to be just 16 or 17 years old, carrying 3 treasure swords on his back as he walked with the steady stride of a dragon and tiger onto the heaven-repairing platform, full of spirit. The heaven-repairing platform was vast, yet only a few hundred were cultivating there, all meditating in different spots. The youth walked toward the heaven-splitting axe standing in the center of the platform. As he got closer, people began to turn their attention to him. The heaven-splitting axe was left behind by the mythic supporting Tao sword Venerable, but countless ages have passed, and no one has been able to retrieve it, causing the expectation for this grand opportunity to fade. Thus, fewer and fewer with high cultivation are visiting the heaven-repairing platform. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:12. Celestial Mandate Person. The black-clad youth came before the heaven-splitting axe, looking at the ancient axe that had weathered countless millennia. He smiled with a radiant exuberance. "Hey kid, where are you from? Do you also wish to challenge the ancient inheritance?" An elderly voice echoed. The black-clad youth turned his head upon hearing it and smiled brightly, saying, "My name is Su Ling. I just joined the Supreme Sect, and I believe I am qualified to receive the world's greatest opportunity." Hearing this, the surrounding old cultivators opened their eyes. Their expressions varied. Some were disdainful, others amused, some expectant, and others displeased. After responding to the old cultivator, Su Ling shifted his gaze to the heaven-splitting axe, his eyes full of passion. He reached out directly and grasped the axe handle. Heavy. This was Su Ling's first impression. At 16, he had already reached the core formation realm. Among the new disciples of the Supreme Sect, his talent was considered outstanding, especially since he was not born into a cultivation family. Although the heaven-splitting axe was very heavy, Su Ling felt a mysterious power in the dark assisting him in lifting the axe. The sense of weight was rapidly diminishing. Indeed, the heaven-splitting axe has been inherited for so many years without anyone succeeding. It clearly tests not cultivation level but Fuyuan. Su Ling always believed he had deep Fuyuan. When he was young, a calamity struck his entire village, yet he survived. He always felt grateful to the heavens, carrying a thankful heart from a young age. He had a fervent spirit, always ready to help those in need, earning a reputation for chivalry while young. It was this chivalry that drew the attention of the Supreme Sect's cultivators. After an entry test, he turned out to have extraordinary talent. He felt his good fortune and talent had special significance, with a grand mission awaiting him. Gaining the heaven-splitting axe's inheritance would assist him in completing this great mission. If there is celestial mandate in the mystery, let it help me lift it. Su Ling looked down at the heaven-splitting axe, shouting in his heart, He exerted his strength, moving his left foot sideways, his form full of power. He did not stop, his eyes resolute. The heaven-splitting axe started to shake. Although the movement was slight, it caused the hundreds of cultivators at the heaven-repairing platform to open their eyes, all turning their heads to look at him. The heaven-splitting axe trembled more violently, prompting the cultivators to stand up one after another. How is it possible? Could he truly be the legendary celestial mandate person? CTH Novelfire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He's only at the core formation realm. How can he budge the heaven-splitting axe? I've heard from my ancestor that even the legendary divine thought true immortal couldn't lift the heaven-splitting axe. Perhaps it's not cultivation level being tested after all. For someone so young to reach core formation is already first-rate talent. If his cultivation years are only a few, it is unfathomable. Maybe that's why the heaven-splitting axe chooses him. The cultivators began to excitedly discuss. If this youth truly obtains the inheritance of the heaven-splitting axe, the supreme sect would soar to new heights. To them, the supporting Tao sword venerable seemed too distant, but the heaven-splitting axe was real. Su Ling was not thinking about that much. He concentrated all his attention on the heaven-splitting axe, putting in all his effort, but he still couldn't lift it completely. Just a little bit more. Su Ling thought through gritted teeth. In merely a few dozen breaths, he had exhausted all his chi power. But he didn't want to give up. The ensuing time felt endlessly long and agonizing for Su Ling, but he refused to quit. Finally, the heaven-splitting axe began to rise, causing the hundreds of cultivators watching to hold their breath, not daring to exhale. Su Ling hadn't noticed this scene. He only wanted to persevere. As the heaven-splitting axe continued to ascend, strands of spiritual energy rose from the earth's crevices, increasingly forming surging winds, blowing Su Ling's black clothes. Boom. Su Ling only felt a white light erupt from beneath the heaven-splitting axe, rushing fiercely toward him, turning his vision completely white, his consciousness following into a daze. It felt as if he had a brief dream, quickly awakening. He found himself standing on a mountainous terrain, surrounded by rolling green hills, with a broad view that made him feel relaxed, clearing away his inner confusion. Kid catch. A voice suddenly sounded in his ear, immediately followed by the sound of something slicing through the air. His pupils shrank abruptly, and he turned instinctively, raising a hand to catch. The heaven-splitting axe landed in his hand, pressing him backward with its immense power as his boots kicked up twin trails of dust. With this catch, Su Ling was completely awake, as if returning to the real world. Once he steadied himself, his right hand was still trembling, almost dropping the axe. He looked up, seeing a figure standing on the peak of a mountain in front. The figure leapt, like a bird taking flight, swiftly landing before him. What a handsome man! Since arriving at the Supreme Sect, Su Ling had seen many immortal masters, yet this was his first time seeing a man as handsome and full of immortal aura as Guan for 1,200 million years, finally waiting for someone fated. Guan looked at Su Ling, laughed, and said. Su Ling cautiously asked, "Who are you? Where am I?" Having just embarked on the path of immortal cultivation, he understood little, unable to distinguish reality from the illusion realm. Guan's mention of 4,200 million years directly stunned him, making him lose his usual judgment. Guan smiled and said, "Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that you have passed the test of the heaven-splitting axe. Now I will teach you the secret skill hidden within it. Are you ready? Once you learn it, you can return. This is not a dream. This is your opportunity." Su Ling calmed down. He gripped the heaven-splitting axe and lifted it slightly, saying, "I'm ready." Guan raised his right hand, forming an axe, then began teaching Su Ling the heaven-splitting divine axe, move by move. The heaven-splitting divine axe is divided into 9 forms: life-breaking, demon-breaking, ghost-breaking, mountain-breaking, broken sea, breaking technique, immortal breaking, god-breaking, heaven-splitting. This axe technique was once the supreme inheritance of the Taitsong continent, capable of sweeping the world. With high comprehension and Guan's Tao intent, Su Ling quickly memorized the 9 forms of the heaven-splitting divine axe. After roughly learning it, Su Ling's expression showed hesitance. He occasionally glanced at the heaven-splitting axe in his hand, then at Guan, wanting to say something but stopping. Guan asked with a smile, "Are you disappointed?" Su Ling nodded and said, "It seems the power is not much different from the swordsmanship my master taught me. Indeed, I have modified it. Do you wish to learn the new heaven-splitting divine axe?" Guan looked at Su Ling, his smile unchanged, warm like a spring breeze. Su Ling quickly replied, "Of course I want to. This is the Supreme Sect's ancient inheritance. If it's not more powerful than my master's swordsmanship, it would be embarrassing, not just for me but for the whole Supreme Sect." He had already thought it through. Guan must either be the artifact spirit of the heaven-splitting axe, or the legendary supporting Dao sword venerable. Either way, there must be a deep connection with the Supreme Sect. Guan nodded with a smile, then raised a hand pointing towards Su Ling. Su Ling's eyes widened, his whole body frozen in place, as images of a figure wielding an axe appeared in his eyes. Guan watched him, murmuring to himself, "Choosing him might also be a good choice." If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:13. Where is the sword venerable? Su Ling was shrouded by Guan's Dao intent, and the new memory of the heaven-splitting divine axe surged into his mind. He dreamed again, and this dream lasted a long time. In the dream, he continuously cultivated the heaven-splitting divine axe, a process long and tedious, yet he had no time to think of other matters. When he finally finished this long cultivation, and his consciousness cleared, he opened his eyes, no longer seeing that illusion realm nor Guan. He returned to the heaven-repairing platform, surrounded by great cultivators of the Supreme Sect. Even his master had arrived. Seeing Su Ling open his eyes, the great cultivators around him began to ask questions. "Disciple, how are you? Did you receive the legacy? What did you comprehend just now? What did you see? Did you meet the supporting Dao sword venerable? Speak quickly, you're killing me with suspense." The great cultivators babbled questions, making Su Ling somewhat dazed, which only made them more anxious. Su Ling came back to his senses, took a deep breath and said, "I received a legacy named the Heaven-Splitting Divine Axe, taught by a man in white clothes. He looked very young, very handsome. He merely pointed at me, and I learned the Heaven-Splitting Divine Axe." With these words, the heaven-repairing platform exploded in commotion. An elderly elder exclaimed excitedly, "Young and handsome, isn't that the legendary supporting Dao sword venerable? It is said, he is immortal and amiable." Other great cultivators joined in agreement, showing more excitement than Su Ling himself. Watching the surrounding people's ecstatic expressions, Su Ling felt confused. Even his usually stern master gazed at him intensely. Sar the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At this moment, he finally realized how exalted the status of the supporting Dao sword venerable was. He recalled Guan's appearance, his heart filled with boundless curiosity. Was that person really the supporting Dao sword venerable? What level of cultivation did he possess? Where could he be now? In the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was in a good mood while fishing, having fulfilled his wish by passing on the legacy of the heaven-splitting axe. There was no test or fuyuan. Choosing Su Ling was inevitable because he could see Su Ling's entire future, confirming that Su Ling would bring prosperity to the Supreme Sect and to the world. Not only that, Su Ling upheld righteousness, leading other cultivators to act justly. Currently, Guan was contemplating another matter. It involved reincarnating his previously deceased disciple into Su Ling's descendant, hoping they would follow the righteous path under Su Ling's guidance. This was also to fulfill another disciple's obsession. Guan gazed at the lake's surface, recalling over 40 million years ago when he led disciples like Tang Yu, Su Han, Zhenqin, Yanmei, Yangmin, Yiyan, and others in cultivation. Times have changed. Most of those disciples have since embarked on reincarnation. Guan didn't wish to pursue every disciple. He felt regret toward Su Han. Su Han indeed strayed, but his life was too bitter, and at that time Guan wasn't able to fully guide him. Currently, even with blood vendettas, the Wushiji disciples wouldn't be pursued by an imperial dynasty, or need to seek immortal fate alone. Of course, most importantly, Zhenqin still thought of him. Though Zhenqin didn't enter the beginningless cultivation, with Gu An's subtle help, she had grown and stood out, becoming the founding ancestor of a sect with impressive status. Even though she has achieved fame and success, her personality turned reclusive. Giving Suhan a chance also helped her. For the current Guan, such matters aren't troublesome but interesting while aiding a beloved disciple. This is the mindset shift after becoming powerful. Previously cautious, now nothing in the celestial spirit great world affects him. Not just the celestial spirit great world, he can handle anything in the 3,000 great worlds. Whether to act or not is solely up to him. Guan is increasingly less restrained, enjoying this process. In the unseen, the ineffable Tao Heart realm seemed to guide him. He can now confirm. To become a saint requires transcending that Tao Heart realm. Even facing the celestial emperor, he felt confident. Thus he's in no hurry, enjoying life while understanding the so-called saint realm. Slowly comprehending, if it doesn't work, then risking life. Things Guan couldn't achieve in cultivation over the years were made possible by risking life, which doesn't negate his efforts as those experiences and insights were objectively existent. As Guan reminisced on the past, a figure approached. It was Zhuangxian. Over the years, Zhuangxian had become steadier and carried an extraordinary aura. He came behind Guan and bowed respectfully, saying, "Ancestor, I have mastered the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate. Would you care to examine?" Guan responded casually, "I don't need to look with my eyes to know your Tao practice. You indeed mastered it, though far from perfection." Zhuangxian remarked, "The supreme Tao mixed yuan plate is indeed profound, with endless creation. From now on I will prioritize it. Apart from my main cultivation technique, I won't cultivate others." Guan said nothing more. Zhuangxian's eyes shifted, saying, "Ancestor, I wish to venture out again because I received your true teachings. Ancestor An's expectations are higher, viewing me differently from other disciples. The secret skill I now possess might harm the world. Whether I can venture out requires your approval." Guan remained silent, leaving Zhuangxian anxious. Not daring to say more, he stood quietly behind Guan, waiting patiently. Even if rejected, he accepted it. After a long while, Guan spoke leisurely. "This world isn't as simple as you think. The higher your cultivation level, the greater the calamities you face." Zhuangxian hurriedly said, "I know, but compared to my personal achievements, I care more about how much I can accomplish." "If that's the case, then go." "Thank you, Ancestor. I promise not to shame the beginningless nor cause trouble for it or you," Zhuangxian said excitedly, to which Guan only smiled, without replying. Each period, Wushiji disciples venture out, but only Zhuangxian warranted Gu An's personal attention. Zhuangxian and Su Ling both are rare good people in Gu An's eyes. Zhuangxian is straightforward and just, while Su Ling is kind-hearted, yet gentle and carefree. Though both walk the righteous Tao, their paths differ. Guan looked forward to which roads their lives would take. Afterward, Zhuangxian took his leave. Guan continued fishing, only standing up to collect his rod when dusk fell. The setting sun elongated his shadow. While enjoying leisure, his other disciple faced a fated ordeal. The disciple was Tian Hao, the reincarnation of An Hao. Tian Hao, cultivating in the misty immortal court, had reached a cultivation level to stand alone. He began his adventures in the great Tao domain, traveling within the heavenly Tao beyond the 3,000 great worlds. On this day, he encountered a grand scheme targeting him and the celestial court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:14. Tian Hao's will. The thunderclouds tumbled, and crimson lightning intertwined and flickered. On the earth stood several towering peaks, devoid of vitality and greenery. A light star walked upon the land. Upon closer inspection, it was a divine warrior clad in silver armor, wielding a divine spear, with 9 golden pearls floating behind his head. Flames swirled around the pearls, resembling true dragons, constantly surging, emitting dazzling light, like a war god advancing, dispelling darkness with each step. It was Tian Hao. Now his cultivation level had reached the innate golden immortal realm. Even though he had not yet joined the immortal class, he could nurture celestial Tao destiny, because he was an innate immortal god, born an immortal god. His face was cold, his eyes sharp, filled with an oppressive aura, as if he could see through all the disguises of evil in the world. Following his gaze, a million miles ahead, a stone staircase lay across a giant mountain, like a long stairway to heaven. Looking upward, at the top of the staircase, halfway up the mountain, stood a mysterious figure in a black robe. This mysterious person wore a bamboo hat, and black mist surged on his face, making it impossible to see his true appearance. For a long time, Tianhao stopped at the foot of the giant mountain, looked up, and asked the black-robed person above, "I'm here. Now, you should tell me who you are and on what grounds you claim to have the confidence to overthrow the celestial court?" Tianhao not only recovered Enhao's memories, but was also gradually restoring Emperor Zhuangqing's memories. His divinity was growing stronger. The black-robed person gazed down at him and said, "I am the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, from the Dark Heavenly Court. I shall be the vanguard in attacking the Celestial Court. Once I commence the war, the Dark Heavenly Court will invade en masse. Are you satisfied with this answer?" Tianhao was not surprised. Instead, he sneered dismissively and asked, "What? You think I might betray the Heavenly Tao for revenge against the Celestial Court, for revenge against my father? The Dark Heavenly Court originally came from the Heavenly Tao. We were only defeated and expelled. When we return, we will still serve the Heavenly Tao." Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's tone was utterly calm, devoid of any emotion. Tianhao remained unfazed and said, "You cannot win. As long as he exists, nothing in the Celestial Court can be shaken. He is indeed strong, even invincible. With the strength of the Dark Heavenly Court alone, it would indeed be impossible to overthrow the Celestial Court. But the Dark Heavenly Court is never lacking in patience or determination. If you join us, we will grant you the legacy of the Celestial Emperor, a legacy your father once received. Only by acquiring this legacy will you have hope of rivaling him." Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's words finally made Tianhao's expression change. Tianhao fell into silence, and Emperor Bone Profound Venerable did not pursue him further, waiting quietly. After a while, Tianhao looked up at Emperor Bone Profound Venerable and said, "I can trust you, but before that, I want to fight you, to see how powerful the legendary strength surpassing the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal truly is." Emperor Bone Profound Venerable gazed down at him, saying nothing, but suddenly released a terrifying aura. Boom! In an instant, billions of towering mountains crumbled into ashes. Tianhao's robe wildly billowed, the silver armor quirked, producing a clanging sound, and his eyes turned icy, filled with a fighting spirit. He knew he couldn't possibly be a match for his opponent, yet he still wanted to try. He wanted to know how terrifying the Dark Heavenly Court truly was, so he could understand the kind of foes his father faced. Tianhao leaped towards Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Just then, Tianhao's pupils suddenly dilated, and in his vision, the heavens and the earth trembled as if an immense invisible heart was pounding, and behind Emperor Bone Profound Venerable appeared a terrifying phantom, stretching towards him with bared fangs and claws. "What is that?" Just as the question formed in Tianhao's mind, he fell into a state of chaos. When Guan returned to the room, Tianhao had already been annihilated by Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. He did not immediately take action. After restoring Emperor Zhuangqing's memories, Tianhao was clearly fixated, unwilling to stop before hitting the south wall. Better to let him venture into the Dark Heavenly Court, whether it brings fortune or calamity. That decision lies with him and the Celestial Emperor. While observing Tianhao, Guan had a sense that perhaps the Celestial Emperor was already aware of his existence. But for some unknown reason, the Celestial Emperor did not pursue him and remained in his celestial palace, lost in reincarnation. The real Celestial Emperor was more incomprehensible than the reincarnation body Taihao. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Whatever the case, Guan no longer feared the Celestial Emperor. Even if discovered by the Celestial Emperor, he wouldn't worry. What he desires now is to surpass the Celestial Emperor and reach the legendary Saint Realm. It is worth noting that Gu-An's avatar and Hongyazi were still in the profound abyss divine pool. They learned more and more of the ancient heavenly court and the secrets of saints, and encountered numerous opportunities, steadily growing stronger. The profound abyss divine pool contained many crises that could have killed Hongyazi, but Guan discreetly erased them. Therefore, to Hongyazi, the only problem was his inability to escape. Guan sat down at the desk inside the room, picked up a book from the table, and began to savor it. This was written by the contemporary book sage, Profound Celestial Intent, who infused Tao intent into it, making every word rich in imagery, so that when one's divine sense delved into it, it felt like watching a movie. With such creations, Profound Celestial Intent had become deified, holding a lofty position in the celestial spirit great world. Of course, his status was largely due to his extraordinary friendship with ancestor Master Wuxia. The moon sets, the sun rises. Guan pushed open the door and stepped into the courtyard. Already it was 1,000,000 years later. Basking in the bright sun, he stretched lazily. What's new in the world recently? Guan saw Shangguan Xian'er sitting beside Xinzhen and inquired. Shangguan Xian'er turned to him and said, "There are quite a few things, but one matter concerns us. A disciple named Zhuang Xian of the 8th generation killed the child of an alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and now it's causing an uproar. The eldest senior brother has already sent someone to handle it." And what else? Guan wasn't concerned about Zhuang Xian's affair, because he had witnessed the incident where the alliance hierarch's child used the blood of cultivators of a city as a sacrificial offering for a magical treasure, committing an atrocity worthy of death. However, this person had extraordinary background connections, involving too many people. Shangguan Xian'er tilted her head, thought for a moment, and said, "There's another thing you might be interested in. An ascender has come to this part of the human world. Allegedly a son of heaven reincarnated, destined to undergo 120,000 cycles of reincarnation trials before returning to the celestial court. In each life, he must become the master of the human world, which means he is to become the master of the great world of celestial spirit." Guan became intrigued and said, "Go on." Shangguan Xian'er immediately stood up, eager to share. It is said that this son of heaven reincarnate has already entered Chen Chuan's sword sect, and his comprehension of the sword Tao has already connected to the river of sword Tao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:15. Celestial Mandate. Farewell Son of Heaven Jiayan has finally arrived. CTH novel_fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan listened to Shangguan Xian'er recount the deeds of that ascender, while his eyes were also probing the future of Son of Heaven Jiayan. After Son of Heaven Jiayan ascended, he displayed a vast celestial Tao destiny, making many instantly believe he was the reincarnation of the Son of Heaven. For the sake of immortal fate, many supported him, allowing him to quickly gather a major force. To become the master of the great world, he would inevitably oppose the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance does not have an absolute ruler. There are many alliance hierarchs, and any major event must be discussed. They would never let Son of Heaven Jiayan tread upon them. Various sects were watching to see how the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance would handle Son of Heaven Jiayan. Shangguan Xian'er again mentioned the great battle between Son of Heaven Jiayan and a prodigy from the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. That battle attracted worldwide attention. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance had rankings for disciples of every great realm, and Son of Heaven Jiayan challenged the top prodigy of the same realm from the Heavenly Spirit. With an absolutely powerful stance, he won, making people even more convinced he's the reincarnation of the Son of Heaven. Since ancient times, there have always been ascenders, but no matter how strong those from the lower realm are, their Taoist techniques always fall short compared to cultivators of the celestial spirit great world. Ascenders can stir up waves, but can never surpass the prodigies of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance possesses the best resources of the celestial spirit great world, especially those who make a name as a prodigy, whose resources are far beyond those an ascender can compare to. Ancestor, can't you foresee the future? Do you think that Son of Heaven can shake the rule of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance? Shangguan Xiener asked excitedly. She bore no animosity toward the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. She was simply eagerly anticipating a drastic change in the world structure. Before the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, there were 9 major sects. Earlier there was the Tao Court, and even earlier was the Holy Court. The Master of Heaven and Earth has always been replaced. Guan smiled and said, "Anything is possible." These words only piqued Shangguan Xiener's curiosity further, and she couldn't stop chatting away, with Shenzhen occasionally chiming in. Guan chatted with them for an hour before leaving. Today he had an important affair. He was to meet an old friend from the immortal cultivation realm, who was holding a feast for his million-year birthday. A million years in today's world is nothing significant, but in a single continent, it would absolutely count as being akin to an ancestor's existence. Guan wished to go simply to see this old friend off for the last time. Everyone has their ultimate limit of lifespan, commonly known as celestial mandate. Even though this old friend has reached a high realm and seems robust, in reality, he's nearing his life's limit. Guan had no intention of altering his fate. After all, they were merely drinking buddies with shallow ties. He was just going for the spectacle. After Guan left, Shangguan Xiener sat back beside Shenzhen, and the two began discussing writing again. The book sage inspired writers all over the world, imbuing Tao intent into the text to create more meaningful writings. Under the dark celestial vault, the earth stretched infinitely. Guan and Hongyazi passed through a stone gate, standing alone on the earth, devoid of any other constructions within a 1,000-mile radius. Hongyazi suddenly stopped, turned to look at the stone gate behind him, and with a dazed expression he couldn't help but ask, "Have we already escaped from the predicament?" The moment they stepped through the stone gate, he felt that something invisible had lifted, an eerie, abrupt sensation. As a heaven-opening Daluo immortal, instinct told him that he had already escaped the endless predicament from before. Guan halted, turned to face Hongyazi and said, "Fellow Taoist, this journey was quite exhilarating, but it took a bit too long. We should part ways." Hongyazi turned to look at Guan, his brows furrowing, asking, "Why part ways? Why choose this place?" After traversing many lands together for so many years, he never expected they'd part ways here. Moreover, over the years, he vaguely sensed that Guan was not simple. The two were of the same realm. Yet many times he found himself unable to see through Guan, never having seen Guan in a wretched state. But he didn't understand. They had not yet left the profound abyss divine pool, only escaped a mysterious plight that had trapped them for many years. And now Guan was to part ways with him? Guan looked at Hongyazi, a smile on his face, and said, "Isn't there no such thing as a banquet that never ends?" Upon hearing this, Hongyazi couldn't help but sigh. Guan jumped, transformed into a rainbow light, and swiftly disappeared. Hongyazi watched Guan's departing figure for a long time. When he finally came back to himself and turned again toward the stone gate, the oppressive aura attacked him, causing him to shiver. He suddenly realized something. Without Guan's company, this journey would likely end in disaster. Guan's avatar jumped out of the profound abyss divine pool and returned to his true self. He only recalled the avatar because he grew tired of it, not wanting to continue the antics with Hongyazi. Besides, after he left, Hongyazi would return to the Misty Immortal Court to cultivate. In the future, the Misty Immortal Court would become an important force for Tian Hao. After obtaining the Celestial Emperor's inheritance from Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, Tian Hao returned to the Misty Immortal Court with greater ambition. And the Misty Immortal Court would become his first stepping stone to help him soar. In the myriad heavens of the Tao, each had their own stories unfolding, and an endless web of cause and effect intertwined in ways beyond the comprehension of living beings, creating a giant net encompassing every world. In the blink of an eye, 20 million years passed. This day in the mountain viewing pavilion, Guan was playing chess with Nzizai. The game had just begun. "Ancestor, that Su Ling is truly remarkable, having become the alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and the Supreme Sect has also risen completely. Do you feel gratified?" Nzizai asked with a smile. The story of Guan and the Supreme Sect he had long heard of. and Su Ling's legendary life couldn't be separated from the supporting Dao Sword Venerable's heaven-splitting axe inheritance. With Su Ling's heaven-splitting divine axe sweeping across the land, he became one of the most dazzling figures under the heavens. Of course, and Zizai knew that the supporting Dao Sword Venerable was indeed Guan. Hence he had long regarded Su Ling as an ally, purposefully bringing up Su Ling's recent achievements. Guan laughed and said, "At my realm, no matter what you become, no matter how high you rise, it won't affect my mood." And Zizai, hearing the words you thought indeed, Su Ling was also a Wushiji disciple. As Zizai placed a piece he followed with, "In today's world, there are indeed many notable figures. Unfortunately, whether it's Su Ling or Zhuang Xian, or those ancient prodigies of the Heavenly Spirit Dao Alliance, none can compare to Son of Heaven Jie Yan. This child is said to be on the cusp of reaching the innate golden immortal realm soon. It's unimaginable. Innate golden immortal is a realm countless great cultivators dream of, including all of them as Wushiji disciples. Yet, how difficult it is to become an innate golden immortal. So far, openly, only one person in the celestial spirit great world has achieved innate golden immortal status." Guan placed his piece. The game had just started, with no signs of killing intent, and they played casually. And Zizai continued to ask, "Son of Heaven Jiayan plans to visit Wushi. Ancestor, he's definitely coming for you. Will you meet him? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 8:16. The Future, I Will Not See Him. Guan replied while placing a piece on the board. The cultivation level of Son of Heaven Ji Yen in this life was not enough to pique his interest. If his original cultivation level were restored, he might consider meeting him. It's not that Guan uses cultivation level as a standard for meetings, but rather that after the reincarnation of Son of Heaven Ji Yen, his memories have not fully returned. Only when his cultivation is restored as before can he become his true self. Meeting the real Son of Heaven Ji Yen might not be bad. Perhaps he could trace back to uncover more about the cause and effect concerning the Celestial Emperor. But the current Son of Heaven Ji Yen has no value in Guan's eyes. And Zizai, upon hearing this, asked no further questions. Since Guan did not wish to see him, he had his own strategy to handle the situation. He then turned the conversation to Zhuang Xian. Zhuang Xian has now become a flagship figure of Wushi, traveling the world, relieving suffering, and asking for nothing in return. His chivalry and reputation spread far and wide. Surely, his fame as great as Son of Heaven Ji Yen and Su Ling's is owed to his own divine skills. The Supreme Dao Mixed Yuan Plate was personally passed down by the ancestor Master Wushi, renowned across the world, sweeping through the same realm. This has led many Wushiji disciples to inquire about this divine skill within the beginningless, wanting to cultivate it, but alas, few within the beginningless know it. To cultivate it, one must first obtain the master's verbal consent. As they chatted, and Zizai found himself unable to continue because he felt pressure in the game. Though he knew he couldn't surpass his ancestor in skill, he still harbored expectations each time, hoping to amaze the ancestor. Thus, the mountain viewing pavilion fell into silence. A stick of incense later, and Zizai left, lost in thought. Guan stood up and turned to look at the great waterfall beside him. Within his pupils reflected a silhouette. Sarch * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was a young boy. Indeed, Su Han's reincarnation, just 10 years old. The grandson of Su Ling. Guan originally intended for Su Han to be Su Ling's son. But Su Ling didn't marry until he grew strong. And after marriage he wandered the world. He didn't wish for Su Han to grow up without a father's companionship, so he waited. Now Su Ling has become the alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Dao Alliance, with the Su family rooted there, allowing Su Han to grow up steadily. Back then, after Su Han transferred his cultivation using the destiny-defying divine skill to Zhenqin, his body was preserved by Guan. Once Guan's cultivation grew powerful, finding his soul wasn't difficult. Even if it had scattered, Guan could cross over to retrieve it. Unless all his causes and effects were erased, to achieve that one must first cultivate the Daoyuo Dao fruit. Guan watched as Su Han of this life was practicing swordsmanship, reminiscent of the years when Su Han cultivated the heaven-hating divine sword passed down from his father. He silently guided the cause and effect, leading Zhenqin, who happened to be wandering within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, towards the Su Mansion, creating a chance for them to meet. In this lifetime, Zhenqin would become a guide on Su Han's cultivation path. She would see in Su Han a resemblance to her senior brother, and gradually release her obsessions by mentoring Su Han. The reason for not directly telling her the truth is that Guan predicted that if he did so, Zhenqin would spare no effort in indulging and cultivating Su Han, causing him to stray again. What Zhenqin needed to do was forgive herself and let go of the past. Su Han needed to start a whole new life. They could intersect, but not overlap. Once Zhenqin truly moved on, Guan would reveal Su Han's true identity, or let Su Han regain memories of his past life. Letting things run their course would be the best outcome for both. Guan turned his gaze towards the future, a very distant future. With more and more Wushiji disciples becoming stronger, it would eventually be difficult to maintain the current low profile. Whether turning towards good or evil, they could no longer stay low-key. He even foresaw many calamities for the Wusher, including internal chaos and external threats. It was impossible for every Wushiji disciple to be a good person. Inevitably, one will become an evil person, and internal unity will eventually falter. Flourishing to the extreme must decline. This is an eternal truth, just like the heavens and earth, overly prosperous, will also usher in the cataclysm of all beings fighting. One day, Wushiji disciples will venture out independently, and Guan will only keep a few to accompany him. That is a future far distant, and even though Guan has glimpsed it, he remains neither sad nor indignant. He is at peace because he can already see through the destiny of all things. He's just considering that everything in the world seems ever-changing, yet in reality, there is a shared order that persists. Becoming a saint, does it mean breaking free from this order? No, it should be more powerful than breaking free. To set the order, to create the rules. Guan had an insight, but this level of insight was far from being a saint. He suddenly thought of the lifespan inheriting function he activated, which could allow him to lecture at an already obliterated enlightenment seeker dojo. Since ancient times, many cultivators must have sought the saint realm. Otherwise, the legend of becoming a saint would not have been left behind. However, accessing such dojos is difficult. He cannot control it. He can only decide how much lifespan to invest. When his lifespan increases, he might invest 1 trillion years to test the waters. Guan retracted his gaze and walked out of the pavilion. Above the vast, magnificent sea of clouds, 2 figures strode on golden light, racing forward. They were Zhang Buku and Su Yu. Zhang Buku looked around curiously and asked, "Is this the legendary celestial extreme 9 heavens? The spiritual energy is indeed abundant, but why does it seem lifeless?" Su Yu flew alongside him, smiling. Hidden beneath the sea of clouds are many divine beasts. Should they leap out, they would certainly startle you. Zhang Buku looked at him and asked, "How are you so familiar with the celestial extreme 9 heavens? What connection do you have with this place?" "My master cultivates in this realm," Su Yu replied, and a slight change crossed his gaze. Zhang Buku remained silent. When Xianyuan Human Venerable was about to fall, Su Yu had led him away from the celestial calming god's celestial army, taking them to meet an immortal monarch, thus escaping the causes and effects of the contest for the title of Son of Heaven, which greatly astounded him. Although Xianyuan Human Venerable ultimately turned the tide, he too, through that immortal monarch, found a more promising path to ascend to immortality. After cultivating in the immortal monarch's palace for a long time, Su Yu brought Zhang Buku to the celestial extreme 9 heavens. "You've always been curious about my background, now I can tell you." Su Yu looked ahead, speaking calmly, causing Zhang Buku to gaze towards him. "I was also once a son of heaven, yet through reincarnation, I shed my status as son of heaven, and became a mortal spirit." Su Yu's words shocked Zhang Buku, but he quickly accepted it. Su Yu knew so much about the celestial court, there must be a connection, and his status was higher than a celestial god. As the son of heaven, it made sense. Unlike the great immortal divine Yuan, and Xianyuan human venerable, I never received my father's favor. Perhaps he never even remembered me. Even when I violated the celestial rules, he did not personally question me. Although it seemed I had left the celestial court and gained freedom, in truth, the celestial court simply didn't care about me. Suyu spoke with a self-mocking tone, his eyes full of desolation. Zhang Buku remained silent. He could not empathize with such feelings because his father loved him dearly. Albeit he left him early on, yet in his heart, paternal love was the greatest. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:17. Great calamity, since you have already shed the identity of the Son of Heaven. Why are you coming back now? Zhang Buku remained silent for a moment before speaking, looking at Suyu. The two had fought side by side for tens of millions of years and were like brothers, so he would not change their relationship because of Suyu's different identity. In fact, over the years, he often speculated about Suyu's identity, and was already mentally prepared. Suyu in an annoying tone said, "Isn't it because I met you? I originally wanted to lead a carefree life, but since knowing you, it's been nothing but trouble." Zhang Buku smiled upon hearing this and said, "Then you can leave now, I won't stop you." "Forget it, with your disposition. You'd have died 8 million times without me. Have I never saved you? Just to mention one thing, before joining the Celestial Army, when you tried to seize the heaven and earth ultimate treasure, you were ready to perish with your opponent, and it was only with my secret technique that we broke through the siege. This is a separate matter." The two began to bicker, with Suyu's mood lifting, returning to his usual carefree state. The two bickered all the way as they moved forward. Ahead, a radiant aurora appeared, and at the end of the aurora was a colossal palace. On the palace eaves crouched a majestic great blue bird, its majestic beauty causing space to seem distorted with its fluttering feathers. Zhang Buku's gaze fell on the plaque of that palace. CTH Novelfire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 9 Heavens Immortal Palace. Upon hearing Zhang Buku's whisper, Suyu explained, "Residing in the 9 Heavens Immortal Palace is a heaven-opening Daoyuo immortal known as the 9 Heavens Immortal Emperor. She is considered my junior sister, and we have a good relationship. Let's go to her palace to cultivate for some time to enhance your physical body." 9 Heavens Immortal Emperor. Zhang Buku recalled hearing within the Celestial Army that anyone who could claim the title of Immortal Emperor in the Celestial Court held a high status, at least not comparable to a celestial god. He began to look forward to the upcoming years of cultivation. After experiencing the battle for the title of Son of Heaven, Zhang Buku's ambitions grew. He wanted to become an immortal god more powerful than the Son of Heaven. He wanted to become a player rather than a pawn. The two hastened their pace, flying towards the 9 Heavens Immortal Palace. The passage of time was swift. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. For mortals, 100 years is long, but for cultivators after nirvana, a century is not much different from a month. On this day, Guan was instructing Nzazai on the cultivation of the 4th strike of the myriad supreme palm. The two were standing on a cliff, amidst beautiful scenery, yet every strike Nzazai delivered could not damage the surroundings, because they were within a barrier created by Guan, allowing Nzazai to freely practice the myriad supreme palm. Despite Nzazai being busy managing Wuxia, his cultivation had not lagged. He was now at the cultivation level of a heaven-encompassing free immortal, and with the myriad supreme palm, even some second-generation disciples were no match for him. Guan, seeing Nzazai gradually enter the perfect state, turned his head to look at the horizon. "It has begun," Guan thought silently, referring to a war unseen by mortal spirits. The dark heavenly court was about to attack the celestial court, with Emperor Bone Profound Venerable as the vanguard. They had already opened a space-time passage, and the heaven-suppressing endless tower would appear before the celestial gate. This war would last many years, with Emperor Bone Profound Venerable merely testing the current strength of the celestial court. Unfortunately, by the end of the battle, he could not force out the celestial emperor, but it did make a heavenly Tao Venerable, who had been in seclusion for countless years, renowned in the celestial court. Even within the celestial court, the title of Heavenly Tao Venerable was rarely mentioned, partly due to taboo, and partly due to the distance from most immortal gods. For Guan, this was a mere amusement, something to watch at leisure. And Zizai continuously practiced, each palm strike straight forward, the technique relying on harnessing energy. While cultivating, he asked, "Ancestor, many disciples want to ascend to immortality lately. Didn't you once help Uncle Yangjian to ascend? Do you still have any immortal fate on hand? Do you support the disciples in ascending?" Guan never had many requirements for his disciples. Outside of cultivation, disciples would contemplate their future, even if they left Wuxia. Guan wouldn't stop them. Not everyone would stay at Wuxia forever. They might leave through the 10,000 Realms gate, or go to the human world to establish their own sections. You are responsible for observing and selecting a disciple who wants to ascend to immortality and is eligible. Guan casually replied, yet his words excited Zizai. Indeed, Xianyuan Human Venerable had granted Ancestor a quota for ascension. He didn't want to ascend, but the fact that Wuxia had an opportunity for ascension was a glory. In his early years, he had also ventured out, witnessed Ancestor in action, and long decided to follow Ancestor in cultivation to the end. Moreover, he was not deprived of freedom. If bored, he could visit the human world for leisure. He had found Ancestor's approach to life rewarding and genuinely enjoyable. To have a powerful cultivation without deliberately flaunting it, to sit back and watch the tides rise and fall, was another form of enjoyment. Listening to Zizai's thoughts, Guan's lips slightly curled upward. And Zizai, like an ex-Cyan, had thoroughly become a true cultivator like him, which was great. Though Wuxia had many disciples, those who genuinely walked alongside Guan were few. The two chatted sporadically, and Zizai thoroughly enjoying his current state, as Guan was whom he admired most. Whether cultivating or conversing with Ancestor, he liked both, and having them together was a rare occasion in thousands of years. And Zizai brought up the future of Wuxia, with disciples increasing yearly. Despite limiting the number of students, with each generation passing training to the next, it would inevitably become a colossal entity, and he feared managing Wuxia poorly in the future. "Have you heard the story between me and the Supreme Sect?" Guan suddenly asked, and Zizai immediately grasped the deeper meaning. He could abandon the Supreme Sect or Wuxia. And Zizai immediately grew anxious and quickly said, "Ancestor, wherever you go, you must take me and my master. We have no desires or ambitions, only wishing to seek the Tao with you. Don't worry, I will take you. I merely want to reduce your pressure. You've done excellently, even surpassing your master back then." Guan glanced at him, smiling, relieving Zizai's burden. Looking at his expression, Guan suddenly thought of Hao. And Zizai was quite like Hao, who did not wish to soar away. He glimpsed into Zizai's future, very long, so much so that there was no end in sight. This meant Zizai's heart wouldn't change, and he would truly follow Guan forever. As long as he remained by Guan's side, Guan could naturally ensure he would always live on, and his Tao practice wouldn't meet limits. Guan looked at Zizai with an increasingly gentle gaze. This kid was worthy of his favor. Alright, don't overthink. Focus on practicing the myriad supreme palm. If one day a Wuxia disciple misbehaves, you'll need to clean up the mess. Don't be surpassed by the younger generation. Guan urged. And Zizai chuckled, saying, "How could the younger generation possibly surpass me? Don't be so sure, someday a great calamity will arise in Wuxia." Guan's words wiped the smile off Zizai's face, furrowing his brows as numerous faces flashed through his mind. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:18. Eternal Divine Power Great Calamity. Ever since the Ancestor spoke to Zizai, Zizai began scrutinizing the disciples with a discerning look. He realized that his past attention on the Wuxiji disciples was too little. Although the Ancestor said that it was impossible for all disciples of Wuxia to be good, he refused to believe in evil. He conscientiously screened them, not willing to believe that there truly were fish slipping through the net into Wuxia. If any disciple strayed onto the wrong path, he could rectify it in time. Constantly following the ancestor in cultivation was his goal, but if he could keep the ancestor at Wuxia, that would be better for him, for he held deep feelings for the Taoist field of the beginningless. After all, Wuxi's current foundation was due to the efforts he exerted with much heart and energy. In the ensuing days, more and more disciples noticed Zizai becoming stricter, even setting many hurdles for accepting disciples, causing them to privately speculate on what had affected him. The news also reached the ears of the second-generation disciples. Towards them, Zizai did not mention the words of the ancestor, but he did not conceal the matter from the elders. Upon hearing that a great calamity would appear in Wuxia later, the second-generation disciples became solemn because they knew Guan would not speak carelessly. Guan's eyes could see the future, prompting them to heighten their attention towards their lineage's pupils. No one hoped for such a calamity to arise from within their own ranks. In the absence of knowledge across all heavens and myriad realms, the celestial court fell into a great battle. Dressed in a golden-patterned white robe, Li Xuanmiao grasped a divine weapon, soared through the clouds, surrounded by figures of immortal gods. Following their gaze, the edge of the celestial vault was an expanse of extreme darkness, resembling the maw of an abyss, ready to devour the celestial court. Endless evil demons rushed forth from it, battling the immortal gods. The battlefield was vast and boundless. Numerous meteors swept across, attacking the battlefield above the sea of clouds, with various Dharma aspects emerging one after another, and gigantic magical treasures stirred the storm winds of the battlefield. From afar, Li Xuanmiao recalled the formidable evil demon he encountered when rescuing Liya. Its aura equally wicked. It seemed during the dispute of the Sons of Heaven. The dark heavenly court had already begun its invasion. Li Xuanmiao furrowed his brows tightly. He could feel a powerful aura in that darkness unparalleled. Never had he sensed such oppressive momentum, so formidable that it roused his concern for the safety of the celestial court. He had yet to climb to a high position, or change the hearts of the immortal gods. Would the celestial court collapse prematurely? Coming from the mortal world, he would never believe the celestial court was eternally indestructible, for he had witnessed too many ruling forces fall. In his view, no matter how the immortal gods embellished it, the celestial court was merely a more powerful force than the holy court. He took a deep breath, set aside distractions, and plunged into the battle ahead. During his flight, he distinctly felt himself passing through an invisible barrier. The battlefield ahead suddenly expanded. Deafening rumblings echoed from all directions. Boom! A terrifying gigantic fist materialized beside him. His pupils contracted, instinctively raising his divine weapon to block. Yet he was still struck flying. During his backward flight, he gritted his teeth and noticed black holes appearing across the battlefield, the giant fist emerging from one such black hole, finishing its strike before retreating back, causing the black hole to vanish. Crimson lines swiftly appeared on his forehead. His aura surged as he gripped his divine weapon. Twisting his waist, he swung and smashed. Vast chi flames wreathed the gun's body, colliding just against another giant fist. Terrifying chi force vibrated the void, and a meteor 100 miles away was directly crushed into powder. Li Xuanmiao was engulfed in the battle. Yet his aura and situation amid the entire battlefield were not conspicuous. Meanwhile, Guan lounged in the courtyard, snacking on seeds as he watched events unfold, cradling a book in his hand, feigning reading. Shenzhen approached, commenting, "You're reading Green Hero Travelogue again. How many times must you read it?" Guan casually replied, "This is the 4th volume of the original. Long time no see. Rereading brings new insights." S.E. of the Nafire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Shenzhen pondered, refraining from further inquiries. She stood beside Guan for a while before turning to leave the courtyard. In recent years, she no longer sat idly in front of the artifact refining cauldron, often venturing out. Yet her range of activities was still within the Taoist field of the beginningless. The artifact refining cauldron was extinguished, foretelling that Guan would not refine new Tao treasures. Guan sat in the courtyard, watching for an hour, before setting down the seed tray, then tucked the Green Hero Travelogue into his bosom. He stood up and stepped forth from the Taoist field of the beginningless to reach the depths of the hidden spirit palace. Deep-sea dragon carp established a dragon palace in the ocean, returning sporadically, with its clone managing the medicine garden here. He began harvesting mature medicinal herbs, with plans to conduct a lifespan projection later. At dusk, on a gorge overlooking the world, two cliffs stood no more than 10 yards apart, with a figure upon each. One was notably Zhuang Xian from the beginningless. Zhuang Xian wore a black shirt and white clothes, topped with a Taoist hat, exuding otherworldly charm, the sword box on his back lending an aura of chivalry. He furrowed his brows, gazing at the purple-robed man opposite, sternly stating, "Brother Lin, cease persisting in ignorance. The lives of cultivators are still lives. No amount of merit for mortal spirits can justify wanton slaughter of cultivators." The purple-robed man's gown billowed in the wind. His hair was disheveled. On his handsome and bizarre face hung a cavalier smile. Eyes disdainful, he chuckled. "How many years have we known each other? How many times have you implored me? Why implore again?" Zhuang Xian drew a treasure sword from his back, pointing it at the purple-robed man, declaring, "This time, I cannot let you go." The purple-robed man shook his head with a smirk. "I've heard that sentence countless times. You can't do anything to me, why persist? Countless are the evil and deviant throughout the world. Why stubbornly entangle with me? This time is different from the past. I am soon leaving the celestial spirit great world." "Leaving? Where to?" Zhuang Xian asked sternly. The purple-robed man showed longing, saying, "A place representing eternity, Brother Zhuang. In truth, I wish to take you to. Alas, our ideals diverge. You are destined not to fulfill such conditions." "Eternity? Does eternity require you to slaughter 9,999 celestial and earthly immortals?" Zhuang Xian asked sharply, eliciting disdainful snorts from the purple-robed man. "Not one cultivator is innocent. It is merely a matter of who has killed more. Can you say you've never killed anyone or a demon? Are you truly unashamed in this life?" The purple-robed man glared coldly at Zhuang Xian, questioning with a twisted expression. Zhuang Xian snorted. "Unashamed? Hardly. But my shame comes from not having killed such evils sooner." With those words, the treasure sword in Zhuang Xian's hand burst forth a sword light, illuminating the world, slashing towards the purple-robed man instantly. Boom! The cliff beneath the purple-robed man and the barren mountain behind him shattered, raising terrifying dust waves sweeping to the horizon. But his eyes did not blink. The sword tip was less than 3 centimeters from his eyes, so cool were his gazes. "Thus, Brother Zhuang, today let you feel the disparity between us. This is the first time I exhibit the eternal divine power. Should you not exert your utmost, you shall die." The voice of the purple-robed man echoed, unleashing killing intent that plunged the entire world into an icy chill. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 819. Not belonging to the heavenly Tao, Zhuang Xian heard the words of the man in purple, and immediately executed the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate. The vast mana, intertwined with Tao intent, erupted, surging into the clouds. Behind Zhuang Xian, a towering golden wheel rose, quickly solidifying and turning dark silver, its surface engraved with countless mysterious Tao patterns. As the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate emerged, the heavens and earth trembled, and sand and stones flew into the air. The man in purple looked up, his eyes widening with excitement. He smiled and said, "The legendary great divine power of no beginning, the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate, seeing it today, it truly lives up to its reputation." He leaped into the sky, raising his right arm, palm outward. Rolling demonic chi gushed from his palm, resembling countless black pythons rushing out. It was eerie and sinister. These demonic chi quickly coalesced into a black flood dragon, stretching over 1,000 feet long. At a glance, it seemed he had a flood dragon for an arm, though his flesh seemed insignificant compared to this arm. Seeing the man's divine skills, Zhuang Xian frowned. He could feel the endless power of cause and effect surging towards him, sealing this space. The power of cause and effect was formless and colorless. The power of cause and effect that the man in purple wielded was extremely venomous, like a sea of curses intending to drown Zhuang Xian. Zhuang Xian raised his hand to reclaim his treasure sword, then soared into the sky. The Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate began to spin, crushing the cliffs and mountains below. The majestic aura spread out, manifesting as various ominous signs. The man in purple laughed loudly and charged directly at Zhuangxian. Before the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate, even his 1,000-foot flood dragon arm seemed insignificant, like an egg striking a stone. Boom! A rumbling sound came from the edge of heaven and earth, startling the disciples cultivating in the Taoist field of the beginningless. In the valley, Zizai was lecturing to dozens of disciples, all carefully chosen to inherit the spirit of Wusher. The sudden loud noise made him frown, and he turned to look into the distance. He recognized one of the auras. It belonged to his most valued Wushiji disciple, Zhuangxian. Zhuangxian was engaged in a fierce battle, and such a momentum likely meant he had employed the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate. It was known that in the past, Zhuangxian frequently executed the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate, but had never unleashed such an aura. This proved that Zhuangxian had been driven to desperate straits, exerting all his might. The disciples listening to the lecture were also awakened. They couldn't discern that the distant sounds originated from Zhuangxian, but they were curious and discussed in small groups. And Zizai stood up and said, "Well, stop here for today. I need to go out." With those words, he disappeared into thin air. Once he left, the disciples no longer suppressed their voices or curiosity. Is the distant battle related to the Wushiji disciple? Such a powerful aura. The fighters must have surpassed the Zizai immortal realm, right? The celestial spirit great world is vast. For the sounds to reach us from so far, the beings involved must have indeed surpassed the Zizai immortal realm. There's a terrifying aura among them. Just feeling it instilled a sense of hostility in me. Did you feel that too? The disciples engaged in heated discussions. Meanwhile, Guan in the courtyard was questioned by Shenzhen. Who is Zhuangxian fighting against? With such commotion, the opponent must not be simple. Shenzhen asked curiously, her pupils already reflecting the figure of the man in purple, though she couldn't discern his cause and effect origin. Guan, who was painting, softly replied, "That man is called Lin Songhai, born in this great heaven and earth, but he's embarked on the path of the sky." The path of the sky? What is that? Shenzhen, curious about the undiscernible cause and effect, asked. Guan glanced at her and said, "You will know in the future." Shenzhen pouted, thinking Guan was being cryptic again, but since he refused to elaborate, she assumed he had his reasons. The battle between Zhuangxian and Lin Songhai grew increasingly intense. Not only did the massive sounds of the heavens and earth reverberate, but fierce winds also swept across all directions, drawing more great cultivators to watch. Since the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance took control of heaven and earth, such battles rarely occurred. Great cultivators would always take their fights to the outer heaven to avoid affecting all living beings, and incurring the wrath of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Shenzhen began to observe the fight seriously. Zhuangxian's capabilities did not surprise her, but Lin Kanghai's divine skills left her incredulous. Lin Songhai was fundamentally no match for Zhuangxian. The Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate suppressed Lin Kanghai's countless divine skills, yet it couldn't completely defeat him. Every time Lin Kanghai's physical body was destroyed, he would almost instantaneously resurrect nearby, and his fighting momentum didn't diminish with resurrection. Instead, it grew stronger. If this continued, Lin Kanghai's momentum would reach the profound Yuan-free immortal realm. Sir, the novel, Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This was unreasonable. Shenzhen did not see any special cause and effect assistance, unable to comprehend why Lin Songhai could be immortal, and why he could grow stronger in battle. As time passed, Zhuangxian began to fall into a disadvantaged position. Far away, on the other side of heaven and earth, dust enveloped the sky, and the ground shattered like an abyss. The Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate stood upon the earth, still rotating. In front of the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate, Zhuangxian, disheveled, looked up at Lin Songhai, who was continuously attacking the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate, and his eyes were filled with terror. The black flood dragon on Lin Kanghai's right arm had grown to 10,000 feet, and with each swing, the flood dragon fiercely assaulted the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan plate, projecting black lightning across the heavens and earth. At this moment, powerful auras descended. You too, this is the celestial spirit great world, not a place for you to act recklessly. A commanding voice boomed through the heavens and earth. Lin Songhai paused, looking up to see figures of great cultivators from the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance appearing in the sky, each exuding an overbearing aura. It was the great cultivators from the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. And Zizai appeared beside Zhuang Xian and frowned, saying, "How did it escalate to this extent?" His tone carried reproach. He was very dissatisfied with Zhuang Xian's current performance. Zhuang Xian turned to look at him and explained, "He wants to leave the celestial spirit great world, and it's not as simple as going to outer heaven. I sensed a presence that doesn't belong to the heavenly Tao. If he leaves, the souls he has sealed will be beyond redemption." A presence not belonging to the heavenly Tao? And Zizai shifted his gaze to Lin Songhai in the sky, faced with numerous powerful divine senses locking onto him. Lin Songhai remained unfazed, smirking without explanation. He grabbed his right shoulder with his left hand, and directly detached his right arm, blood spraying across the sky. This scene made the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance frown. At that moment, Lin Kanghai's body convulsed, his head trembled incessantly, and his face contorted, with wisps of black aura wafting around him like fiery flames. A great cultivator of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance narrowed his eyes, immediately taking action. A jade bottle flew out from his sleeve, its mouth facing downward, shooting out a white light that enveloped Lin Songhai. The next second, the great cultivator's face changed dramatically. His supreme treasure was unable to capture Lin Songhai, a situation he had never encountered before. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 820. Eternal God bathed in white light. Lin Songhai continued to tremble all over, looking as if in pain, yet the ferocious smile on his face seemed excited. He seemed to be anticipating something. The other great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance also sensed something was amiss and took action one after another. One by one, streams of mana were cast onto Lin Songhai, but were dissipated by the black aura surrounding him. All the great cultivators felt as if their mana was falling into an abyss, instantly cutting off their connection, and leaving them unable to discern how deep it truly was. This made them feel as if facing a formidable enemy, prompting them to scatter and encircle Lin Songhai. And Zizai also sensed something was off with Lin Songhai and stepped forward, saying, "Withdraw your divine skills, let us handle the aftermath from here." Zhuang Xian did not arrogantly hold back either, immediately dispelling the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate, only to see the black aura around Lin Songhai quickly converge into a door. A black door as tall as 100 zhang, and as it opened from the right, waves of silver light poured out from within. An overwhelming might enveloped the entire celestial spirit great world, startling countless cultivators. In the boundless chain of mountains, a strong man meditating under a waterfall opened his eyes, his shirtless body adorned with two red dragon patterns that writhed. He lifted his gaze, frowning, with a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. He was none other than Son of Heaven Jieyin. This aura, Son of Heaven Jieyin murmured to himself, seemingly recalling something, his gaze becoming increasingly piercing. He was not alone. More and more beings of immense power were startled. Even the many dojos in the outer heaven could sense this vast aura. Before the world gate, the celestial spirit god opened his eyes, his gaze piercing through, looking towards the celestial spirit great world. What is that? Sar the Nafire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was the first time he had felt such an aura. His instincts told him it was very dangerous, and he was certainly not its match. He did not rise to act, not because he was afraid, but because there were stronger immortal gods within the celestial spirit great world. Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals of Golden Cave moved swiftly, appearing before the black door even before it fully opened. Bang! Tai Immortal Monarch's right palm pressed against the black door, forcefully holding it shut. The appearance of Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals startled the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. and someone soon recognized their identities, exclaiming, "Immortal gods!" As these words were spoken, instead of feeling relieved, the other great cultivators grew even more tense, wondering what sort of cause and effect had provoked the immortal gods to intervene. The 72 immortals of Golden Cave each possessed an extraordinary aura, far surpassing the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, but compared to Tai Immortal Monarch, their aura was significantly weaker. The world fell silent, everyone held their breaths and fixed their gaze on Tai Immortal Monarch. And Zizai also refrained from taking action, watching Tai Immortal Monarch silently, for he had met Tai Immortal Monarch before and knew he was no ordinary immortal god. Zhuangxian was not amazed by the appearance of immortal gods, but instead, his gaze remained complex as he looked at Lin Songhai. Seeing Lin Songhai trembling amidst the black aura, images of them years ago drinking and enjoying themselves, resolving grudges with pleasure, floated into his mind. Those joyous images were shattered by scenes of their numerous battles, returning to reality where they had completely turned against each other. Brother Zhuang, there are so many suffering people in this world. How can you save them all? Why not find the source of the suffering and uproot it? Even if it can't bring absolute peace, it can at least spare more mortal spirits from suffering. Lin Kanghai's words from the past echoed in his ear, filling Zhuangxian's heart with sorrow. Even with the immortal gods intervening, no matter the outcome, he and Lin Songhai had ultimately parted ways. In his heart, Lin Songhai was his best friend. He would be saddened, but never would he relent. He had to save the innocent cultivators captured by Lin Songhai. At this moment, Tai Immortal Monarch's face changed slightly as he held his hand against the black door. His arm trembled slightly, and the door began to open once more, a sight that made the 72 immortals of Golden Cave and all onlookers tense. More and more great cultivators arrived. Witnessing Tai Immortal Monarch suppressing the black door, they dared not act rashly. Boom! Tai Immortal Monarch's aura suddenly erupted, shaking the heavens and earth. The clouds churned, and the celestial Tao light layer above the celestial spirit great world burst forth with innumerable rays of light, penetrating the sea of clouds and entering Tai Immortal Monarch's body. Tai Immortal Monarch's aura rose steadily, but his arm continued to tremble, unable to completely resist the black door. Humph! A cold snort came from the black door, causing Tai Immortal Monarch to leap back, putting distance between him and the door. Not just him, but the 72 immortals also backed away. The black door opened with a roar. Inside shone a silver light, revealing a majestic figure within. No one could clearly see his true appearance. He seemed to be wearing a wide robe, with 3 heads and wild long hair, resembling a Rakshasa, horrifying and terrifying. When everyone saw this figure, they only felt an endless cold force hitting them, making them feel as if they were in a freezing cellar. Their greatest fear was losing control over their own bodies. No divine sense, no mana, no strength. It was as if their souls were detaching from their bodies, and even their souls could not move freely. And Zizai and Zhuangxian felt this too. Their eyes widened, cold sweat streaming down their faces. Their gazes were fixed tightly on the mysterious figure within the black door. In broad daylight, the mysterious figure standing in the silver light appeared so terrifying, bringing an extreme sense of horror and oppression to everyone. The great cultivators who had come to support were also petrified upon seeing him. For a moment, the heavens and earth fell into a bizarre scene, as people continued to fly in and then stopped, staring blankly at the black door like all the others. Lin Songhai seemed to have been drained of all energy. His arms hung down, his entire body swaying precariously, yet the black aura held him aloft, preventing him from falling. He only felt his eyelids were so heavy, trying hard to keep them open. His gaze landed on Zhuangxian down on the ground afar. Looking at Zhuangxian, images from the past similarly flashed through his mind. Brother Lin, seeking the root of disaster is a form of escapism. Do what you can do, that is enough. Zhuangxian's words echoed in his ears. A self-mocking smile tugged at his mouth. Indeed, it was a form of escapism. Lin Songhai knew he was never a good person. Helping mortal spirits was merely to fill the inner terror and unease, thinking that by doing so, he could balance merit and sin, in line with the heavenly Tao. But now he no longer believed in the heavenly Tao. He wanted to believe in the eternal path. He prayed in his heart to the eternal deity, asking to kill everyone present, but not to kill Zhuangxian. He never believed in the existence of true good people until he met Zhuangxian. Originally from Wushi, Zhuangxian could have enjoyed everything, yet he insisted on journeying the world, enduring so many hardships, doing good deeds that offered no reward. Zhuangxian, standing behind in Zizai, saw Lin Kanghai's gaze and understood his eyes. But now he was powerless to resist, and compared to Lin Songhai, he was more worried about the calamity the mysterious figure inside the black door might bring. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible.